Hello everyone, it's Orion, aka Yuno, aka the Fire Fist guy, but today I'm not gonna be talking about Fire Fists, I'm gonna be talking about FGO. So, if you've been in any server with me about FGO, you know that I have a tier list that I have been working on for like the last half year. And since I'm one, probably gonna quit FGO, and two, starting a new YouTube channel, I was like, why not? I'm gonna share this to the world because like that's kind of what I do here. So yeah, some things to explain. One, this is mainly made to make a better tier list than game presses, which is not hard. But, yeah, and especially because it's fun to rank things. This tier list is primarily about farming, although challenge quests definitely do get counted in the rankings. I will be counting MP levels for calculations at MP1 for golds that aren't welfares and story locked servants, while I will be counting them at MP5 for 3 stars and below, besides story locks and welfares. Although for system loopers, it's less about the calculations and more about the potentials. So um, I'm kind of ignoring MP levels for those guys. Sorry. It's kind of hard to like objectively rank them and how they loop and where they loop and when they loop with with that. I will also be explaining both the rankings for the loopers with and without the systems, although I will be ending up with placing them where they end with the system. What else? I'm feeling like I'm forgetting something not too important. Oh yeah, the tier list is scripted. I have been working on this for the past half a year. I have a pic of it with where I should place everyone, and this is mostly about maths. That's really important. At least like MP damages. The MP damages and batteries are kind of the most important things about a servant when I'm ranking them. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna be ranking them in order of class, and I'm gonna start off with AoEs, then single targets, then supports, and I will be grouping them in their rarities, and I will be going over them from best to worst within each group of them. Okay, so that's a lot of explaining to do. I hope this I don't have to record this again because I forgot something. And yeah, I'm gonna start. So, best of the AOE Saber 5 stars is Saber, or Toria, Altria, however you wanna call it. Um, she has 29k damage, at least for now. Oh yeah, the last thing I forgot about. Yeah, this is until Castoria comes out because she changes the meta way too much to count because I would have to change the tier list entirely. So yeah, until Castoria and until the 6th anniversary, she has 29k damage, which is quite high, although not as high as it becomes later. But she has a charisma. She has a 30% battery with 20% refund on MP, which is quite unique. And most of her damage is one turn, but who cares? Yeah, should be in the borderline between A and A plus with those characteristics, but partly because of the charisma and partly because of the fact that she's the best AoE saber. Um, she does get a point and goes to A plus. Next up, we got Mordred, which is kind of more of the same as her father. However, because of her lack of charisma, she both loses charisma and 3k damage at MP1. So she's going in 8 here. She does get an interlude between now and Castoria's race, but it's so irrelevant that it really doesn't matter. Next up, we got Arthur. Arthur is definitely a step down in most situations above those two. He only has 23k damage as opposed to like 29 and 26k. Sorry, 22k, almost 23k damage. He has only a 20% battery. However, he does have power mod against giants that puts him up at 40%, 40k damage. So that's really good. So that does bump him up to above the other two AoE SSR sabers, which spoiler alert are both going in B tier. They both do about 29k damage. Alterados slightly less than that, but about as much. They're both mainly used for CQs because like Altera's main niche is besides having her DPS go most of it going for treaters. She has an AoE buff removal, which is really good for CQs, but is not really relevant for farming. And meanwhile, Void Shiki is a tank and solo stuff. She does have a very niche but sometimes useful 10% team-wide battery on her MP, which is interesting. But healing does take up 10% MP, which does hurt, especially since we are considering them at MP1. Although when you are soloing, you will be borrowing someone else's, so you can borrow someone else's MP2, assuming you can find someone else with Void Shiki in their support list, because she's very rare. But if you go like on servers and on probably even Reddit, you can find people to coordinate with. Her main niche in farming is that she has a target of an AoE that resists down, which synergizes with Nitocris. So sometimes comes with her and Nitocris do come up. So yeah, that's the AoE Saber SSR's ranking. Now we are going on to the SRs, starting off with Saber Alter. Now Saber Alter does have 29k damage. She has a 20k. She has 20% battery and I think 10% refund, but that doesn't really matter because she doesn't have enough battery to realistically use her MP more than once. But she does have a charisma, but it's really weak. It's charisma E. Does like 12% attack up at level 10, which is kind of a joke. But she's better than Gawain, I would say. And I would say she's the third best AoE Saber. Next up, we got Gawain. Gawain is also in a bit of a similar boat. He has also 20% battery. He has a really nice charisma, which gives sunlight, which does come up. But his damage is a bit of the weaker side. It only does 21k damage with sunlight on. And yeah, he's good, but not as good. Next up, we got, let's see, I think it's, yeah, it's Nero, who has is the third, is one of the only 3 AoE Sabers with 30% battery in NA right now. However, her damage is wet noodle tier. She does 14k damage without Imperial Order, Imperial, how is it called? Whatever, the 60% RNG thing, which I am not gonna count for farming, so her damage is way too low, and she also has an arts MP that only hits once, like Vice Shiki, so she can't loop. So she's going into bitter, although I will say she is better than Shiki for farming. She has more uses. Next up, who we got? We got okay, so we got Siegfried. Siegfried, he only does like 20k, 19k damage on non-dragons, but his dragon damage is kind of legendary. He does 51k, which is fucking insane. I'm pretty sure if it isn't the highest amount of damage on an AoE MP, it's in the top 3, at least in NA. Like, it's insane damage. So for when that comes up, he's like A plus tier, but it doesn't come up all the time, and when it doesn't, he's like in probably in F tier. So yeah. Moving on, we got Saber Lily. Saber Lily, she's kinda just a bit sick. She has 31k MP damage at MP5, which is really good. And that's it, folks. Her other skills are pretty useless. Her carding damage is atrocious. Like, seriously bad. But she does have 31k damage as she is free, and doesn't take her much to become better than Mr. Fergus over here. Next up, we got Lakshmi Bai. Lakshmi Bai also lands in B tier. She can Scuddy Loop, but she's really bad at it, and it barely even affects her ranking. Like, yeah, I guess she's in C tier without Scuddy and in B with Scuddy, but like, she's mainly there because of like her neat team support, which is neat. Her damage is kind of shit. It's 15k, which, like, who cares? So yeah, she's a bit. You could argue for C, but the fact that she can Scuddy loop somewhat does put her above C tier. And speaking of C tier, we got Suzuka. Suzuka is only in C tier because of her buff, otherwise she would be in D tier. She has pretty weak damage at 19k, I believe, and yeah, 18k. Wow, that's really bad. 18k damage and only a 10% regen battery, so it's better than nothing, but like, come on, it's so fucking bad. Yeah, she's really bad. But she's usable, I guess. So next up, we got Fergus. Fergus D tier. Does like 22k damage, which is really low. It only takes like let me see, MP2 or Saber Lily to out damage Fergus. The rest of his kit is kinda cool, but like, who cares? It's just really bad for farming. Like, straight up use Berserker. Well, yeah, I mean, he's not worse than a Berserker for farming Lancers. Like, you're free to play Darius and Kyojin and stuff. But for the fact that you have to invest in another servant is not worth it. And finally, we got Jason. Jason, without looping, is like in D tier because he does have some neat support options for Argonauts. He does have a small battery for Argonaut servants, and he does have charisma. But thanks to him being an Archstooper, he lands in D tier. But above Fergus, because right now without Castoria, he can't loop. Like, I have spent way too many brain cells on trying to make him loop the last Christmas Lotto, and they ended up with a setup that uses like 2 Paracelses, which you will never find in someone else's support list. So it's completely irrelevant. He can't loop at the moment. But like, I appreciate the effort, and it's not like Fergus is a high bar to clear, so I will put him above Fergus. Well, yeah. Okay, so next up we got single target sabers. Let's see. Well, there's a bit of a standout here. The best saber in the game is Nero Brighton, and not really because of how good of a saber she is, although she would still be an A plus if we just consider her as a single target saber. However, her main niche is arts looping, and sometimes even quick looping. She's the best looping support until Castoria comes out. Yeah, she does enable quite a bit of setups and farmers, and a lot of the time you can substitute her with waiver in double Scuddy setups that require third support. Yeah, she's really good, both of as a single target saber and as support. However, the fact that she only has a 30% battery as opposed to a 50% does prevent her from reaching SS tier. Next up, we got Benienma. Benienma does have the really nice 20% battery, team-wide battery, plus charisma, plus some other support stuff in her kit, which makes her really solid. And she does have a nice 2 power mods against chaotic and evil characters. However, damages without power mods is not too impressive. She's only 40k damage, and by the way, Nero Bride is 48k damage at everyone. Against chaotic evil enemies, she does like 72k damage, which is really nice. But yeah, yeah, she also has not enough hits to be a single target Tart Super, unfortunately, but she can refund quite a bit. So yeah, she's really good. Probably the best single target saber in the game. As a single target saber, I would say that Neurbad is slightly worse than her, and she's a semi-support, but in the sense that she's both a DPS and a support, while Neurbad usually can only be used one way. It's kind of hard to use her in both ways together simultaneously as effectively as Beniema does. Next up, we got Okita. Okita goes in A tier. Her carding game is insane. That's she's really good with double Scuddy in CQs. However, she's not really great for farming. Her damage is kinda on the lower side. It's 43k damage, and yeah, her carding is insane basically. So yeah, she's really good for CQs and not that good for farming, but you could use her. Someone who is better for farming slightly is probably not the next servant we are going to talk about. 1 second, let me see the list. Okay. Yeah, next up is Musashi and Saber Astolfo. Saber Astolfo is actually quite nice for farming. He does have a region battery, but it's 20%, which is absolutely usable. His damage is also 43k, which is the same as Okita's. His kit is a lot weaker for CQs though. And well, meanwhile, Musashi is kind of like Okita, but she's Buster instead of Quick, so she can't abuse Skadi. Her best support is Merlin, which, like, yeah, it's great, and especially for CQs, but Skadi would be better. She does more damage though. She does 48k damage and for at the moment, which is nice. So yeah, she also lands in B+. Next up, we have Dioscuri and Siegfried, I think, both in B, I assume. Let me double check. Huh, no. Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Yeah. They're both in B tier. Sigurd, sorry, not Siegfried, Sigurd. Sigurd does really good damage against dragons. It's 40k damage, I think. 60k damage, I think. So, yeah, 62k damage and 41k on non-dragons. So he's quite nice, but could be a bit better. The rest of his kit is kind of just a bit sick. And Dioscuri is pretty weird servant, I gotta say. Like, she's not really usable for farming. Let me double check her kit. She only does 42k damage on NP. I think she has a region battery. No, she has well, they have a battery on quick card on attack with quick cards, which is kind of weird. They have an MP damage and attack buff for one turn. They have a Voyager of the Storm basically, and they have a small Quicken Arts buff. They have some actually really nice passive skills, like for example Avenger, despite not being an Avenger, and they have ignore invincibility and ignore defense buff, which is really nice for CQs, but definitely pretty damn useless for farming. So they land in B tier. Next up, we got the 4-star Sabers, single targets. And first off, we got Summer Okusai, who I'm really not sure about where to put her, but for now I will put her in A plus tier. Well, I will put her in A plus tier, mainly because we'll talk about that later, as opposed to putting her in A tier. She has a 20% battery. She can refund quite a bit of MP. She has 60k damage on MP, which is really nice, being a Infernal. She can crit quite a decent chunk. And she has usable survivability, so she's quite solid both for CQs and farming. I don't think she's as good as Benyenma, but I do think she's definitely better than Nokita and someone else who will be in A tier. Next up, we got Saber Lancelot. He's kind of an overrated dude, mainly because like now we got an single target crit Saber who actually does good MP damage. However, don't let that take away from the fact that Saber Lancelot does insane crits insanely often, and he's only one of two single target sabers with 30% battery, which is really nice. He's really good for farming low HP waves, although unfortunately we don't have many weird nodes yet where he does actually shine. He is very useful in this mines though, although like is not that much better compared to someone else who we will get to, but yeah, he's really solid for what he is. Just don't count on his MP damage doing too much damage. Next up, who do we have? We have in B tier we do have 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Yagyu, Summerfriend, and Saber the Armoid. Basically, these guys are only good for CQs. They are really, really bad on farming. Yagyu does 40k damage, I believe, which is kind of nice. Yeah, 40k damage. However, all of his steroids are one-turn steroids. So even for CQs, he's kind of weird, but he is definitely useful for that. And then we got Summerfen and the Armored Saber, who are both quick sabers. So they are obviously really good with Skadi. They have both 37, 36k damage. They are pretty interchangeable, but I do believe that Fren is slightly better, because even though it costs 10% of her battery, she does get a much better MP gain buff compared to the Armored Saber. She gets like 90% MP gain up for 3 turns, which is, I would say, insane, but it is balanced by the 10% MP gauge cost. So yeah. Next up, we got, I believe, Ama and Meb. Meb. Let me check. Yeah, and Elizabeth Brave. All three in C tier. They're pretty much bit 6. Well, Liz Brave is a bit stick. He does really good MP damage, and that's about it. She only has basically 2 skills. She has been used in CQs before, but like her MP damage is not great enough to really put her above. Like Saber Lily is in B tier because 31k damage is above beat stick level. That's a really high territory. But to reach the same success as a beat stick for a single target, you need to get to 60k minimum. And she doesn't. She only gets to 52k. We got Summer Mabe, which has a really bad damage. She can spam her MP though, which is nice, but outside of CQs, even though she does have a 20% preaching battery, you will not use her for farming at all. I mean, you could, like, that's not too much worse compared to Lancelot's MP damage, but like she doesn't have as 30% immediate battery, which doesn't even need to be leveled. Yeah, Lancelot doesn't even need to be leveled on his battery, which is really nice. And finally, we got Rama, which does above average damage versus demonic enemies, but he's not really that great. Oh no, not even above average. He does 39k damage versus demonic. Yeah, he can crit really hard, but he can't get crit stars by himself. And he does have a charisma, and that's about it. His non-demonic damage is really bad. It's only like 26k, like Summer Mabe. So yeah. Next up, we got finally the 3-star Sabers, and Caesar, I'm gonna say it, he is better than Hokita. His MP damage is pretty damn insane. It's got 59k, 55k damage, which is really strong for a 3-star. Like, Jesus. He also has a very nice support kit. His skills are really good. He has charisma, he has tactics, and he has crit up, and also star up. Although he does have a defense debuff on it. And his MP also generates a lot of stars, so it's really nice. Yeah, the reason why I'm not sure about Samarokusei is that there aren't many situations where you would use Caesar over Octa, because yeah, he does have supports options, but she's so much better for farming. On the other hand, I would see a situation where you would use her for farming, like if you need, if you're fine with your battery stuff and you need to do a lot of damage versus an enemy that's neither evil nor chaotic, then yeah, Samarokusei is really good. Especially, or also if you're using only 1 DPS in CQ, Samarokusei is better as a single DPS than Beniema is. Next, we got Bedivere. Bedivere is a bottom par with Saberlot, honestly. He does slightly more MP damage at the cost of not having the crit niche. He also shares the 30% flat MP gauge, which is really nice. You also do get him for free, so that's really good. And you will probably want to raise him to clear story, either him or Summer or Caesar, or any other single target Saber reel, but those are the ones you get for free anyways. So yeah. Next up, we got the support ones, and I'm gonna start with Anling, which goes in B+ tier. He has some really nice buffs. He has charisma. He has an RNG buff, which is really nice. He has an MP gauge up. He has further charisma on his MP. He also has, I think, Invul on his MP. Not sure. Never used this MP, honestly. And he also has an art sub, which is really nice with the charisma and the MP gauge up. So he is quite a decent support, although most of the time, if you have another SR support, you will use him. You will use that instead. But he's really nice to have around. Next up, we got Chevalier. Chevalier is a bit overhated. He's really good for what is, aka a 3-turn counter with evade. However, the fact that his stunt is on his third skill is really bad because you can't use him at level 1, like you can with modern hunters. I may be overrating him because like I have used him quite a bit, but yeah, for what he is, he's pretty good. But he's obviously only good for challenge quests. And lastly, we got our first F tier in the tier list. We got Gil Saber. What were they thinking? Especially with the tactics. Like, come on, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, he's basically a carding servant with 2 skills. His third skill is really good, actually. No joke. It's if it was on any other servant, it would be kind of broken. Well, any other Buster servant, but he's barely even a Buster servant because his MP is arts, and it also has debuffs on him, which I don't fucking get it. Like, I guess it can be used for fun, but that's not really my style. To be honest, that's pretty much the sign of an F tier character. Next up, we got the archers, and we're going to start with the clearly best archer in the SSR archer category, which is Ishtar. Ishtar is if she was like a berserker or an avenger or something like that, she would be in S plus. The fact her only problem keeping her from S plus is that she isn't really generic, and S plus is pretty much reserved for generic units that you can use regardless of class advantage. Ishtar has 35k MP damage, assuming you use our delayed attack buff. She has charisma too, 50% battery. Like, team weight crit up because, like, why not? Like, seriously, she's insane. To the point where, like, Gilgamesh, on one hand, I would love to put him in S tier. However, I cannot in good conscience put him on the same tier as Ishtar. So, like, you could go either way, honestly. I'm still not sure after months of thinking about this, but yeah, Ishtar is just that insane. Gilgamesh is really strong too. Like, he has charisma too. He has a 30% battery, but he does 41k damage versus servants, and I think 28k versus non-servants. Let me double check. No, 27. Yeah. Yeah, so like, he's also got pretty much all his buffs in his MP besides his charisma, and he has really strong cards and has a golden rule, which is really nice for challenge quests. So he does make up for it by being better than Ishtar in challenge quests, arguably. But yeah, I don't know. You could put him in S tier. It's really neck and neck. He's pretty much borderline, but I'm gonna lean into A plus tier. Next, we got Tesla. Tesla is kind of a side grade to Gilgamesh, but he really is just a downgrade to Ishtar unless you're doing CQs, because then you can, like, reset your attempts to get the RNG, because for farming I won't count RNG, and he does about 20k damage on without power mod, and 30k damage with power mod, and he only hits Earth and Sky Servants, which is about 2/3 of the targets that Gilgamesh hits. I have counted it. I think it's like 43 versus 62 in NA or something like that. I counted a while back. Yeah, but he has a 50% battery, which is really nice. He also has some niche of MP gain support, but who cares? Next we got Napoleon. Napoleon, you could argue for him to be an A+, but he, like Ishtar is too strong compared to Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is too strong compared to Napoleon, who's basically just a niche version of Gilgamesh. Like, he's slightly better versus Divine Servants, because he does like 28k and 43k versus everyone and Divine Servants, compared to Gilgamesh, who does 41 versus Servants. But Napoleon has a bit of a stronger crit kit, which is nice. He also has tactics, which is generally nice to have. But yeah, he is pretty damn strong. It's just that he has a lot of competition. Next up, we got Seishanagan. Seishanagan is not really affected by Skadi in the rankings, because she can't Skadi loop. Like, obviously, if you have Skadi, she will do a lot of more damage, but she ranks in A with and without Skadi looping. So, yeah, basically she has like interesting batteries, and she has some pretty strong power mods, but without power mods she only deals like 21k damage. However, she can go up to 54k damage, which is pretty damn insane. Let me double check the batteries. I think she has like 20 regen team wide, no 10% team wide regen, and 20% self battery. So yeah, that's pretty damn good. Not much else to say about her. Next, who we got? We got Arjuna. Arjuna, you could argue him for A, but this is kind of a problem with tier list, that you kind of have to compare with other servants in the class, even if you don't have them. Like, you could argue him being gay, but he's not nowhere near as good as Napoleon. He also does 28k damage. He only has 25 battery, and above that, and the rest of his kit doesn't matter too much. So, like, yeah, it's kind of weak compared to the other Yoi archers above him, but he is good by himself. Another argument for him not being in A tier is, well, you know who. We'll get to him later. Next up, we got Summerjan. Summerjan left her after, because she can loop. So without looping, she ranks in A tier, probably above Napoleon. She has 40% battery. She has a charisma, but her damage is on the low side, 21k. But she does have a pretty strong crit kit. However, she can loop really easily. She's really damn good at it. And yeah, she's a really good art looper. So she definitely lands in S tier with proper looping support. And you don't even really need her to loop, or a specific servant, because you can like mix and match between her, John, her Nerbride, Tamamo, Weaver, Paracelsus for support. So yeah. Next we got the Stars. Got Archer, Ilya, Mixtin. Sorry. Okay, so first off we got who we got? Santagale. Santagale goes in A tier. She's the first servant that's really affected by CQs being ranked here. Otherwise, she will be in B plus tier probably. She does 29k damage, which is really nice, and she has a charisma and a targetable and P buff, which can really add up to your wave 3 clear. But her main claim to fame is CQ utilities. She kinda overthrew Caesar on that. She has charisma, again the MP up, lasts for 3 turns I believe too, so that's really nice. She has a pretty decent MP. She has a buff removal and debuff class, which is extremely strong. She has great up, which is really nice, and she can Scadiloop, but barely. So I'm not gonna count that as a bonus. Next up, who we got? We got Summer Helena. This is gonna be a bit controversial. I'm gonna rank her in B plus. She's a bit of a joke, and like her nerf skill is a joke, like 50 and 500 flat damage up, really. But she does have a 20% team-wide battery and an AoE servant with not really good damage, but like you can use her for wave 1. She has 16k. I think that's enough for B+, honestly. Next, we got Samaroki. If I were a whale, I would probably rank her in B+, but her damage is really low at MP1. It's like 15k, I believe. Something. Yeah, 15k. But she's really good for comfort farming because you only need to click one of her skills to get her charisma, and then she gets Buster Charisma on her NP, so she has she can buff up your wave 2 and wave 3 clear with only one click, which is really nice for comfort for whale farming. But outside of that, she's not particularly great, but she's definitely useful as a support, as an offensive support wave clear. Next, we got let's see. Yeah, Emiya and Nobunaga, both in C tier. Emiya is pretty underwhelming at the moment. He does 20k damage, and his only real niche is he gives you a lot of crit stars on wave 2, and then he can crit really hard with his arts cards on wave 3, because unfortunately he has an Emiya deck. Oh, I kind of find that. Well, yeah, as much as it usually doesn't hurt, it does hurt him specifically. His kit. Like usually, like Arjuna, I'm not gonna hold it against him because when you're just farming with him, you don't really care about crits. But with Emiya, crit farming is, or at least critting your way through wave 3 is kind of the point of using him. It's kind of his niche, so can't not hold it against him. Next up, we got Nobunaga, who was really bad regular damage for welfare, 17k. But she does shine in some scenarios with both power mods that let her shoot up to 51k damage, which is insane. So yeah, that's kind of her niche. She's kind of like Siegfried, except she needs 2 power mods instead of 1. So yeah, I believe that 1 tier below Siegfried is reasonable. And next we got Atalanta. Atalanta without Scuddy looping goes in C tier. He's kind of like Emiya, except without the critting part. She does just gets 50k 50 stars and on RMP, and that's it. But with Skadilooping, she's really strong. And you know how Gilgamesh is borderline? Yeah, Atalanta is too. Except I will say that Atalanta as a Skadilooper is better than Gilgamesh. Crucify me on that. Well, assuming, yeah, not assuming necessarily MP1 because, like, you know, calcs and all. Speaking of without Skadilooping, she also does 20k. So yeah, same about the same as Zemia, but worse. But yeah, both Atalanta and Gilgamesh could easily go into S tier. Wouldn't argue against that. I'm just gonna put them here, and yeah, that's it. That's about it, really. And oh, I forgot to. No, never mind. I'm done. I was about to forget the 3 stars and him. You know. So both Kogil and Tawara are both gonna be in C tier. I do believe Kogil is stronger because his only real niche is you have no better AoE archer besides, you know, and he has charisma. That's it. He has 20k damage about. His MP tends to lag my phone too, so I tend to avoid using it. And yeah, then we got Tota, who also is like 20k damage on neutral, but he has a niche demonic power mod that lets him go to 30k. So he's not like insane versus demonic, but he's worth using sometimes. Depends on what you have, really. Next up, we got Arash. S tier, sorry, S plus tier. Yeah, this words cannot describe how much of a godsend is to new players. If you're new and you haven't raised him, what are you doing? Raise him now. Just because he's a 1-star, rarities does not equal quality, folks. Like, we got some 5 stars in B tier, and that's not the lowest 5 stars you will see on the rankings, I tell you. Arash is, yeah, he's definitely the best free-to-play unit in the game, bar none. At least counting without counting like 6 tiny stuff and 20th anniversary stuff. Yeah. Next up, we got the single targets, and first off, we got Archuria, who goes into A tier, who is kind of like Okita, where she's really bad for farming. Okita isn't really bad. She's just mediocre, but Archuria is pretty much unusable for farming. But dear God, she's really damn strong for challenge quests with the proper supports. Like, oh my God, she's kind of overrated because of how good she used to be before. But even still, nowadays she's really fucking strong. Next, we got Moriarty. Moriarty, where are you? Yeah, there we are. Oh, I kind of put him between the 4 stars. Sorry about that. Moriarty goes in B plus tier. B plus tier. There we go. He has a 50% battery, but you need crit stars to get it. He has a really nice charisma too. Yeah, pretty much he's only held back by the crit star thing, and luckily he does get a strengthening later, which does put him definitely above the edge. But for now, yeah, B plus feels just about right. He does very good damage too, 56k. It's really nothing to laugh at. Next up, who we got? We got Orion, obviously. Only one left. Goes in B tier. We'll get to why she's in B tier. She's a side grade of someone other servant that you will have, basically. We will talk about more of that when we get to the other servant, but you know who she is. Whew. Next up, we got the 4 stars, and no surprises here. Chloe. The only surprise is that she's not in S tier, and I will put her in S tier once Castoria comes out, but till then, I can't really put her in the same tier as the other 50% single targets runs because she's arts and they're quick, basically. And she also has lower damage than them, only 47k, I believe. Yeah, 47k. Although she does have sure hit, which is then nice for CQs. But yeah, she's basically a battery servant, which with decent damage, but not that great. Next up, who we got? Let's see. Yeah, we got Santa Terra. I do believe she's quite a bit underrated. She's basically Shakespeare kind of for non-buster servants. She has a targetable 20% battery, targetable MP damage up. Her MP is actually quite strong if you use the buff on herself. It's 54k, which is really nice. And yeah, it's she's kind of underrated, in my opinion. Next up, we got a bunch of servants in B plus and B tier because there are no bad archers. There's only bad masters. Okay, so we got Tristan, we got Emmy Alter, and we got Tomegozen. Now, I kind of had a hit boner for Tomegozen until she got her strengthening. Nowadays, she's basically got pretty good MP damage, 55k, which is really nice, and the charisma. And that's about it. And on kind of a similar note, we got Mialter, who does 59k damage, but doesn't have a charisma. So both these guys are like pretty much bit sticks. You could argue for them being a bit lower, but you know, like in B tier. But they get the job done. Next, we got Tristan, who has an also 50% battery, but he has a PLCO for some reason, which really hampers him farming, as well as his lackluster damage. He only got 30k. Oh, sorry. I was spreading fake news. I was looking at MP2 damages for some reason. Emi Alter does 47k and Tomagozen does 44k. You know what? Actually, no. I'm gonna go a bit off script here. I'm gonna put them in B tier. They're just bit sticks, basically. Yeah. Anyways, Tristan also has Harp of Healing, which is a really strong ability for CQs, for stall teams in general. And yeah, he's a pretty solid unit. He can be used for challenge quests. He can be used for farming. Yeah. Next up, we got a lot of servants in B tier. We got Svataman. We got Calamity Jane. We got Fujina. We got Chiron. Basically, all of them except one. Ashvatam is I don't know what's the industry name for it, but he has the less health equals more power gimmick. Except he has guts, which is nice. He also has a pretty low damage without it, low MP damage, 30k, which does not bode well when he has 30% battery. So, like you'd assume, is for farming, but is not really good for that. You got much better, even free-to-play options for that. But it does 59k damage at 1 HP, which is really nice. So yeah, he's pretty usable in challenge quests basically, and you could use him in farming, but you wouldn't. Next up, we got Fujino. Fujino at the moment is kinda mediocre. Like I I forgot what even her niche is right now, because she doesn't even have a giant power mod. So she has ignore defense, Pigeon ignores a sure hit, guts. Okay, so basically she hits most things. Oh, she also has buff block. Okay, that's reasonable. So okay, she's basically weird DPS for CQs. However, her MP damage is really low at only 29k damage. Next, we got Chiron and Calamity Jane. Those two are pretty much challenge quest supports, and that's about it. That's all they are really good for, but they are decently good at it. Like Chiron has a bunch of buffs. He has a rainbow buff, crit buff, charisma, I think. Meanwhile, Calamity Jane has some decent battery support with when you have 50%, 50 stars, and some other buffs like charisma and RNG buff. So yeah, they're decent for challenge quests, and that's about it. And last but not least, in C tier we got Samaran and the other one, Mary. Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of like a Svataman, but without a battery. They have a bit lower damage. Oh, 29k and 59k. Kind of like a Svataman. Yeah, basically kind of like a Svataman, except instead of being a battery, they have charisma, which is significantly worse. Next, we get to the 3 stars, and oh boy, they are quite nice, actually. First up, we got Uriel. Uriel, boy, we are back to Orion. Orion is basically outside crit to Uriel, and mostly not better. Uriel does a lot more damage over time, and she has a Charm Walking kit. She's kind of the star of Charm Walking, which is really good for choosing CQs. She's also quite nice for weird notes. Orion, on the other hand, does not have a battery, and her PMod only works for 1 turn, and she can't charm Neri as well. However, she does more damage on 1 MP than Uriel, even at MP1. So that's why she's a side grade and not a downgrade. That's pretty much her only niche against her. Next, we got in B plus with tier, we got David and Billy the Kid. Where's she going? Billy the Kid. Billy has 50% battery and 36k damage. That's really bad. Yeah, he also has technically insane crits. However, his base damage is really low, so his crits are not as insane as you would think they are. However, they are pretty strong with Skadi. Like, quick crits with Skadi, they are very strong. Meanwhile, David is kind of like Tristan. He doesn't have the 50% battery, but he instead has IRP damage and charisma. So it's kind of a side grade to that. Next, we got Robin Hood. Robin Hood has 50k damage, which is really nice. However, it can miss depending on the enemy you're fighting, which is really, really unfortunate. Besides that, there is not really got much going on for it, but yeah, it's basically just a bit stick. Next up, we got William Tell. William Tell has really strong versus evade servants, obviously, but there's something that not everyone knows, is that his level 1 skill is extremely strong. It's a 30% Star Bomb plus an PCO. So he is one of the best servants to keep at level 1. So yeah, he's decent at 2 things, but he's not amazing at neither, and neither is well, he's quite great at both of them, but neither is particularly important of a niche. And next up we got Paris. Paris is kind of like a more general use William Tell, but with lower damage because he hits any buff the enemy. And a really nice thing about him is that he has also a 20% battery. So in farming, you can't really use him unless you're using like Kiyohime to give the opponent a buff. Unfortunately, but he's decent enough in challenge quests. And finally, oh boy, we get to this guy. Some may argue he's a bit overrated, but he is one of the best servants for challenge quests, even against not Sabers. He crits extremely strongly. He can also be used for crit farming, but no, don't do that. Especially when we don't even have Himiko, which makes that not viable, but usable. But yeah, for challenge quests, he's really good. He's a really good soloer. He's pretty decent with Merlin and Summer BB, but he can provide his own crit stars anyway, so you're mostly just gonna use him solo. Next, we got the Lancers, and we are going to start with obviously the 5 stars. It's been a while since I started recording. We're going to start with Rashkigal and Lancer Victoria, because I don't believe one is better than the other. They're both 50% battery farmers. They both do 23k damage on NP, and they both have a charisma. The difference is that Rashkigal's charisma is tied to her NP, and you actually do want to loop her more. Well, she gets better the more you loop her. However, her steroid is tied to her battery skill, and without it, she does like 13k damage, which is extremely low. Meanwhile, Soratoria has a 20% refund on her battery, meaning that it's actually quite easy to MP with her twice. So they are pretty similar. I don't believe one is particularly better than the other. I'm more edging towards Victoria, but not by much. Next, we got Romulus. Romulus, I don't think he's quite as good as the others. He has a 30% battery, and he's quite insane for challenge quests because basically he gives out Roman debuffs. However, if you can't stack them, his damage is yeah, it's still great, but it's not earth-shattering. Like if you use him for farming without Boutica support, he's like 31k damage, I believe, which is good. Yeah, but not amazing. Like it's not Gilgamesh tier. However, like Gilgamesh, it doesn't have good traits. Either way, yeah, you could argue that Gilgamesh isn't on par with Romulus. Well, I mean, yeah, he isn't on par, but on the same tier. But I don't believe there is quite as much competition for archers as there is for lancers, especially because there's a rush. Next, we have Karna. Karna, Karna is quite similar to Romulus. His MP damage is also really high. It's 29k on regular enemies and 41k on divine, I believe. Let me check. 41 or 43? 44. Yeah. So yeah, he does quite good damage versus non-divines versus divines. Pretty good versus non-divines, and he unfortunately is held back by his battery being 25%. But like Arjuna, one, he has a power mod, and two, there's not as much competition. Next, we got Bradamante, which is quite weird tiering-wise, to say the least. Without her system, without Skadi, she will be in B tier. However, she can Skadi loop, so I am gonna put her in A tier. Although there's the problem that you cannot use her in public, and she's overall outclassed by others in the same weight department. Yeah. Next, we go to the 4-stars. Gonna start with Santa Lily. Santa Lily is quite underrated. She's basically a weaker Karna. She doesn't have the power mod, and she only has 20% battery. However, she's still deals 29k damage, which is really solid. So yeah, she's quite decent. And next we got Fionn. Fionn, Fionn, I will get to. Well, no, well, okay, I'll put him here because Art Looping doesn't really boost him much until Castoria, so he has 14k damage, I believe, something really low, but no, it's 20k with the boost and 14k without it, the one turn arts boost, and he has a 30% battery, so that's really quite nice. So it's quite useful. Next we got Liz. Liz is mainly a buffer. She gives 40% charisma to females, and then as a single target, 20% defense down. That's her main niche. Her damage is nothing special, pretty average. Next, we are skipping straight to C tier with Lancer Alter, who is just a bit stick, basically. He does like what? Let me check. I think like less than 29k. 1 second. Yeah, 27k. 27k. So not really great. Like not on par with Saber Lily, I believe, in terms of beat sticks. Next, we got Neza. Neza is kinda completely outshined by Romulus because she's a lot more expensive than Romulus for well, barely any payoff. Like yeah, if you don't hit Imperial Order and you give Romulus's buff to someone else, then he deals less damage than Neza. But if you buff himself, then yeah, there's no reason to. And Neza requires a lore to max her battery. Romulus doesn't, so that's kind of the nail in the coffin for her. Next, who do we have? We have where is okay, so if there was a character besides Gilgamesh who deserved a borderline tier, it would be Erise, because she's kind of a bit stick, but only if she hits power mod. But that's still better than D tier, so I guess she goes in C tier. But you also kind of have to know who she hits power mods to, because some are obvious, some are not so obvious. Some are quite obscure characters, so yeah. And finally we got Kainis. Kainis sucks. It's simple as I kind of forgot why, even, to be honest. Kainis really has no niche whatsoever. Like, she does 20k damage. She has a guts. She has a crit up on MP. What even is there to say about Kainis? She's so fucking bad. Like, oh my god. And not in a good way. Like, a way that works. Like Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh's skit is quite bland, but works. Not Kainis. Next we got the loopers. Um, Parvati and Valkyria are going both into S tier, in my opinion. However, there is quite a bit of a gap without looping, because like Valkyrie is straight up garbage without looping. Like, she's worse than Kainis. Like, seriously. But she's really good as a looper. Meanwhile, Parvati goes into B+. She's kinda like budget Rhaenys, if that makes sense. Like, pre-buff Rhaenys. You have to MP with her, but once you do, you can give some battery to someone else, and her MP charges everyone by 10%, so that's 30% total to someone. They are pretty similar looking wise. Meanwhile, we got Lancer Melt, which is kind of hard to rate, honestly. I'm just gonna throw her in like A without arts looping and A plus with it. I don't have her. I don't have most of these servants, but like with her, it's generally hard to theorize how good she is without having her. So apologies for that. But yeah, we're going into the 3 stars, and Romulus is quite a good unit. Wow, who would have guessed? Free-to-play unit with a battery is good. Wow. Well, unlike some others in this category, he does land a bit lower because his damage without Imperial Order is quite low. However, having also a targetable Buster up is quite nice, and he is very cheap to raise, so really good for the early game. And next we got Hector, who does pretty below average damage, but at least he has tactics, so that is something. It's kind of like like Gilgamesh. However, Gilgamesh Kogil. However, Kogil is obviously better because he has charisma, not tactics. But yeah, that's something, I guess. Did they buff him to have traitor tactics? Let me check. I believe so. Yep, yeah. Yeah, so he has the return tactics. That's quite decent. Usable, definitely. So, C tier. And next we got the single targets. So, we got nothing in A plus tier really. There's nothing I will rank on par with these because none of them have batteries yet. So we're going straight to A tier. We got Enkidu and Skatak. Enkidu does ridiculous damage and is really good for soloing. He's not technically great for farming, but since no Lancer has a battery yet, he's definitely very usable for farming, just if you need a bit stick. And we got Skatak, who does less damage, is not as good as Enkidu for soloing. However, she's quick, so she gets Skadi buffs, and she has probably the highest damage in the game if she hits both power mods, especially if you get her to double Scotty boost. Those numbers are fucking ridiculous for a single target. So yeah, next we got Brynhild. Brynhild is quite decent. She has power mod that makes her quite decent. She has some nice support utility. She's not exceptional, but she's definitely a very solid unit. And next we got finally Tamamo Lancer, who is kind of weird. She does deal quite the good damage versus males. She has a power mod, about on par with neutral Skatak. Well, yeah, it's both 57k. Her damage again, without power mod is quite low. And she does have definitely a niche both as a soloer and in charm locking teams with Medusa Lily. However, she does have drawbacks in her kit usually, which is kind of a weird design decision. I am not sure what they were going for here, but I guess that's it. Next, we got Kagetora, and Kagetora goes into weight tier. She's kind of like, well, I don't think she's quite as good as those. Her MP damage is a bit lower. However, like depending on the team you're using and the supports you're using, one would be preferable. Like if you're using Merlin, you're gonna prefer Enkidu. If you're using Skadi, you're gonna prefer Skatak. If you're using Tamamo or Bride, you're gonna prefer using her, Kagetora. And Kagetora also has a pretty decent refund on her NP, so she can spam it quite a lot harder than the other two. So that's kind of why she goes on the same tier. However, I don't think she's like literally as good as those. Next, we got two B+ tiers in Summer Raiko and Summer Ibaraki, which is kind of ironic. But they both kind of serve the same kit as Buster Crit Servants, with Raiko serving more of a support niche and Ibaraki serving more of a simply offensive Buster Crit niche. They're both decent, both do okay MP damage, both have pretty decent kits. Yeah, there's not too much to say, honestly. Next, we got Medusa Lily, who goes into B tier mainly because her niche is basically the same niche as Tamamo Summer. So high survivability, charm blocking, anti-mail, solo, charm comps. That's kind of it. She doesn't have a power mod against males, but she's quick for Skadi synergy, and her survivability is through the fucking roof. Like, her survivability is probably some of the best in the game. Next, we got Blood Extra and one placement, the Shuan. They are pretty unremarkable, all things considered. Blood Extra has anti-evil niche, and meanwhile Li Shuan is really can hit through invul and evades quite a bit. So they do have a niche, however their MP damage is very low, and their kits are not that great. Also, blood extra stunt, so that's decent. And finally, we got Saber, who has an extremely bland kit, kind of like Katie's. Except she also has some downsides on her kit, and her MP damage is quite low. So yeah, she goes into D tier. Next, we got the 3 stars. We're gonna start with Kuproto and regular Q. Between Ku and Ana, I don't know which one is tankier, honestly, but probably Ana, especially versus Mayo. Kuproto, meanwhile, is really useful to raise for farming talents and some other stuff, like this minus mainly. I kind of forgot which materials he farms, though. Let me see if I got some notes on that. No, I don't. Whoops. Well, he is designed for farming because he has a pretty common power mod, more common than you'd think. Next, we have Jaguarman, who goes into D tier because she's also really unremarkable at MP1. At MP5, she's quite a bit more decent, probably in C tier, but yeah, her MP damage is quite low at MP1. Well, she's a started up 3-star, so that's to be expected. Finally, we got the Armoid, who goes into F tier, because take everything I've said about these guys and multiply it tenfold. Probably he has better MP damage just on the basis of being higher MP level than like Summer Kyo. No, not even, actually. Summer Kyo's damage is not terrible. She's 39k compared to 36k of the Amuid. It's not great damage, but it's usable. Like, Ku has 46k, and both Ku and Kuproto. So, like, yeah, there's really, they're just bad beaters, basically. They're beaters that don't beat enough. Finally, for the single targets, we got Gareth, who is kind of weird, honestly. But I feel confident in putting her in C tier. Probably above these guys. She's a taunter, and she has a battery, and her MP damage is really low. Okay, probably she's worse than Blood Extra, so that out. And he's tankier. Well, no, not really. But yeah, she's kind of just a taunter. Not much else to say. Next, we got. I think I forgot to put someone in here. At least I'm pretty sure. Let me check. Let me find her. There you go. D tier, I think. Nah, I'm just kidding. F tier. She's just like I'm gonna. I just put Ozuin in C tier. How did they make a 4-star that's just a worse version than a 3-star? I'm not sure, but they're both carding servants, DPSs, which is kind of weird. But with Hozoin, they actually kind of made it work. Not really, but he's playable, unlike Hozoin and Gil Saber. But yeah, they're both kind of underwhelming because their role is kind of underwhelming. Like it took a super fucking busted kit to make it work with Super Orion. Anything below that just doesn't work. And yeah, next we have Romulus. Well, sorry, Leonidas, which is actually quite decent in it. Um, he is a taunter, however, his taunt is level 1, so you are gonna be able to use him to solo. However, he got kinda shot on by Changong, stealing his line as the other level 1 taunter with Georgios, because now there is another option, which is kinda better, to be honest. Not that it matters too much, though. And if you level him, he has some nice party buffs, which is quite nice. Which definitely puts him above all the other, most of the other taunters whose sole job is taunting. You could argue for him to be in B tier, but yeah, it doesn't matter too much, honestly. Banky is going into D tier because he's kind of like a generic taunter that one doesn't start at level 1. You need to raise him to 25, which is worse than level 1. And his entire kit is extremely RNG reliant. So, yeah, he just doesn't really work. Next up, we got the Riders, and Drake is pretty much hands down the best non-looping SSR AoE rider. She has 50% battery. She has pretty nice team-wide support for one turn, which is not the best, but it can come up. She has good enough damage, 23k, which is good enough for 50% battery. So yeah, A+, like most other 50% batteries. Next, we got, this is a bit of a controversial take. I am putting Iskandar in A. Okay, so most people rate him a lot lower. However, like basically he has everything but battery and more. Like he has 36k damage, which is absurd. He has charisma, he has tactics, and I think it got buffed to be 3 turn now, which is wow. Like he's both an offensive support and an absolute fucking nuke for wave 3. So yeah, it got buffed. So yeah, I feel like that's the best place to put it. He also gens a lot of crit stars on MP, but that doesn't really matter much because you're using him on wave 3 all of the time. So yeah, and you're buffing your wave 1s and wave 2s. You can disagree with me, it's just my opinion. Next, we got Odysseus and Europa. Now, Odysseus can technically arts loop, but until Castoria, that's not really relevant. Other than that, they're pretty average, like 30% battery, but do like 23k damage or something. So like yeah, they got like Europa's defensive utility, and I don't even remember what Odysseus has, but like I'm not enough to put him above with a looping score because like he can't really loop yet properly. So I'm just gonna stick him in plus tier. And last for the non-loopers, we got Ivan. Ivan goes in B tier. He He's pretty weird. He doesn't have a battery. He does have a pretty nice damage, 30k. So you can use him like a bit thick, but his main niche is like challenge quest utility with debuff cleanses and buff removal. And he is pretty damn good for that, but it is niche enough to not give him too much of a boost, so he goes in B tier. Next we got Achilles and Lolinchi. Lolinchi, without looping, is already in A+ tier, because with between her skill and NPing just once, she has 30% team-wide battery, which is pretty damn nice. With looping, S+. Like, I think it's partly thanks to Near Bride being a single target NP, but some of the best comps in Christmas were like Donichi Bride comps, because like Bride charged the Bride's NP, and then you could use it to clear out wave 3. Besides that, she loops really easily. She can help buff others, but her damage is kind of lackluster. It's 20k on show on MP1. But remember that, like, for loopers, we aren't counting the MP level 2 too much, because it's more about the potential than just the raw damage. Meanwhile, Achilles will go in A tier without looping and goes into A+ tier with looping. He's kind of the same as Europa, except he's quick, so he gets a buff from being Scuddy, so that's why base goes in A. And then he can loop, so A+. He's not great at looping, but he works. So yeah. Okay, next we got the 4 stars. Starting off with Astolfo. I'm gonna start with Astolfo, although it kind of counts like a looper, but not really, because like Astolfo in without Scud is already in A+, because he can get still buffed by support Scuddy and get really high damage. So I do think he's better than Drake, even though at base he does less damage. Like, I believe it's 20k. But with Scuddy buff, one Scuddy with both their buffs, it's 37k, which is really damn strong from just a 2 servant combo. But with the second Scuddy, he can clear any caster to wave second and third wave with his. So yeah, he goes in S tier, because he's basically a 50% farmer with, but he's also quick, which is not something that all of the other 50% farmers have. They're mostly busters, sometimes arts. So yeah. Moving away from just the loopers, we have let's see, we have Summer Camilla and Saber Santa Alter, both in VIP tier. They're kinda completely different. Santa Altera is basically Ivan, but more of a bit stick. She does like 32k damage, but doesn't have any of the utility. So, like, yeah, she's worse than Ivan, but not C tier worthy, because she's also better than Saber Lily. Kinda in a vacuum, if you ignore the classes, because riders do have better free-to-play alternatives. With Sabers, it's just Fergus, which sucks ass. But yeah. In a way, Summer Camilla is an interesting servant. She's kind of entirely made for challenge quests. She's basically just a TA servant. Like, you kind of want to leave her at well, if you get more than one copy, you probably want to keep her at like level 1, level 25, level 45 and shit. Well, sorry, level 40, level 60. Yeah. Her P damage is really nothing special. She just works as a challenge quest support really well, and it's a bit less niche in that role than Ivan, and definitely better. But yeah, I will still rate Ivan above these, but not above enough to put him in B plus tier. Next, we got 1 second. Oh yeah, we got Summer Martha, regular Martha, who is kinda like a budget Ivan. Really low MP damage. Her defense down and buff removal is only a single target. She still has the debuff class. She doesn't have the 2030 effect that Ivan has, though on a rider it's not like it matters much. So yeah, she's kind of just worst Ivan. The others are loopers, so well, Morider is an easy S tier. She's kind of like Lolinchi, where her damage leaves a bit to be desired, and she doesn't have the team charging ability, but she looks really easily. So like, yeah, her refund is insane. Without arts looping, she would probably be like in A tier, maybe B plus tier because her damage is low. But yeah. Next we got Marie. Marie, without looping, is a C tier servant. She has charisma. That's about it. But with Scotty looping, she goes in A tier mostly because like Achilles is in A plus tier and he's better than Marie. So yeah. Next we got Red Ristar. Red Ristar without looping goes in C tier. With looping goes in B tier. Because it's not like she's a great looper. She just works. So yeah. Otherwise, she's kind of just a bit sick. 29k damage with quick and buster charisma, I believe. So yeah. Next, we got the 3 stars, which are really interesting. We got Alexander and Medusa, both in B plus tier. Medusa has higher damage than these guys, though she only has 20% battery. So there's that. And her battery doesn't scale, so she's definitely the better one to raise early on. But Alexander has a bit more use with a more overdeveloped account than Medusa. Like if you have better AoE riders, like especially Astolfo. He works really well with Astolfo. And he also has the highest AoE damage out of any free-to-play unit, without counting MP5 Saber ability, at 29k damage. He has charisma and quick charisma, so he's really nice as an offensive support. Meanwhile, Medusa just has 20% battery and 26k damage, so she's good. Next up, we have Columbus. Columbus would be definitely higher if we were working under like what was I wanted to say? If we were working under MP5 rules for story locks, unfortunately that's not the case, so his damage is kinda trash. It's only 16k. But At MP5 he has 24k damage, so we would definitely be in B plus tier. Probably not A tier, but yeah, he will be definitely better than these guys. He has 30% battery, so yeah. Actually, no, I would probably put him in A tier since he's also less team expensive than these guys. Yeah. Also, he has Voyager of the Storm, which is really nice. So yeah. Next, we got the Red Hair. Red Hair, without looping goes in D tier. With looping goes in C tier. He can loop. He shouldn't loop. That's the simplest way to put it. He kind of sucks at it. Yeah. Next, we got Teach. Teach goes into D tier. He's kind of like Fergus. Or like he's just a beat stick, but he's not even a good beat stick. He does 24k damage and he has Voyager of the Storm. That's all, folks. And finally, we got this guy Bartholomew. Without looping goes in C tier, with looping goes in B tier. He's also quite bad at looping, like Radaristar, but he kind of works. And he does have some okay support abilities for challenge quests. It's kind of mediocre. Yeah. Okay, so we got the UEs done. Next turn, we got the single targets. Starting off with Ozzy in A plus tier. You can, in my opinion, he's kind of tied to the ape with Benny Yanma. They're both single target servants with 20k with 20% teammate battery. They both have charisma. His damage is kind of okay, I believe. It's like 42k damage, which is passable. When he hits Imperial Order, I believe. Which I'm gonna assume that he hits Imperial Order because he has a RNG buff, boost, RNG buff. So there's that. So he also works really well with RNG skill servants, especially with Imperial Order ones. So yeah, very solid servant. Also, I remember he spooked me when I was rolling for a Space Star. After I got MP2, I did a random max strat and roll and got 2 more Space Stars and Ozymandias. That was definitely the luckiest pull I've ever had. And next we have let's see, we got Mayeb and Quetze, aka the cheese girl, and the slightly less cheesy girl. Maybe is like a male supporter with anti-male power mod. Her damage is pretty damn high with against males. It's 46k on neutral, but 70k on males. Meanwhile, there's Quetzalcoatl, which has pretty low damage, but really nice universal support utilities. Like if you use the Buster buff on someone else, she only has 32k. Otherwise, she has 42k. She also has a really nice Buster crit kit. So yeah, she's pretty damn solid, definitely. And last we have Rider Alter, which goes into B plus tier. She's kind of just a bit stick at like 53k damage. She has some other nice utility. She's quick, so Scotty synergy, but at the end of the day, she's mostly just a quick servant, quick bit stick. Next, for the 4 stars, Steer, definitely no questions asked. he's kind of fucking insane. Like, probably the best welfare we ever got in the game. Probably. Could be wrong. There are a couple more welfares in S tier later on, but Kentucky Regular, at least for now, is with the Scotty meta, is really fucking insane. Is 55k on neutral at MP5 without even Scotty buff. With Scotty buffs, oh boy, and he has a 50% fucking battery. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay, next we have Sakatarioma. Goes into B plus tier. He does decent damage, like 46k damage. He has a 10% team-wide battery and also charisma. Pretty simple, like all the riders, single target riders. Actually, all the riders in B plus tier are pretty damn simple. Their kits are simple, straightforward. You know what's not simple and straightforward? Fucking Gun Mary and Bonnie Reed. Like, oh my god. They suck ass. And I have them, and I even have maxed one of their skills because I was fucking dumb when I was playing on year 1. Oh my god. Like, they are suicidal characters without any guts built in, at least for now, for the next 2 years. They can't gen their own crit stars, even though they have a quick deck. One buster towards 2 quick deck. So they're not self-reliant at all. Their crit steroids are really they're only 1 turn, and with that deck they don't deal that much damage. They just don't work. Next we have Mushi, who, like all the other riders in B plus tier, is really, really, really simple. She's kind of like honestly, is she better than Rider Author? No, she only slightly out damages her, so no. But yeah, she has she does 50k damage quick and has charisma and teammate and P game. Very simple kit. That's all. Next we got Mandricardo, he's pretty underwhelming. He's not terrible, but he's not really worth investing in when you have Ushi. His base MP damage is 44k with his power mod at 50% or less HP. He has 63k damage. But, yeah, it's kinda he's not really reliable in getting that. Also, his suicide is not even really on command, so because he has to hit a card. You can't really rely on that for farming, so yeah, for me it's a C tier. You could argue for B tier, but I don't know. Kinda sus. Next we got Georgios. I'm gonna put him in A class tier. Kinda just because he's the best taunter in the game for just taunting. He has a 3-turn taunt that he learns at level 1, which is really good. And he also has guts, which is also really good if you want him to live. The only thing that's not really good about him is that he's a rider, so he sucks up crit stars, which kind of sucks. But besides that, he's a really, really solid unit for what he does. Next, we got Rhaenys, and this is the first SS tier. Post buff. Not judging by how long it's taking me to record this, this will probably come out after the buff, but I'm recording this before the buff. Before the buff, she's kind of average, like A tier, probably around A tier, because 30% battery is in theory really good, but in practice it's not amazing. But 50% battery is amazing, and I'm just gonna spoil that SS tier is for three servants only for now in the Pre-Castoria meta. So by that you can probably guess which other two servants are in SS tier, if you didn't guess them already. But yeah, finally for the Raiders, we got Boudica, which, well, okay, she's kind of trash. Like, I'm not sure. Does she even act as like the Romulus buffer yet? Let me check. Because otherwise her set is her kit is not bad, but it's underwhelming and not enough to warrant running her. Basically, it's kind of opportunity cost. Is kind of her problem. Her buffs aren't bad, but there's better buffs. Basically. Let's see. Does she get? No, she doesn't. No, yeah, she does have. She does buff Romulus Quirinus. No, okay. Should I buff her? Should I? She's gonna be C tier if you don't have Romulus, and B tier if you do have Romulus. This is probably the first change I'm doing to the tier list while recording. But yeah, that was the Riders. Next up, we got the casters. We're gonna start with the AoEs. We're not gonna start with the supports just because they're the most interesting. We got Hero Caster and Anastasia in A+ tier. They are pretty standard 50% battery AoEs in a class that has plenty of those. They are distinguished by having Neurocaster has more damage if you use the attack buff for herself, and she has a targetable attack buff, which can be useful if you use her for wave 1 and then wanna give it to someone else. And then Anastasia instead has a charisma and her MP's arts, so she can loop. And she has a bit less damage if you use the steroid. If you use Neurocaster steroid on yourself on wave 3, let's say. Neurocaster is 23k, meanwhile Anastasia is 20k. Next we have Da Vinci, who, unlike all the other 50% chargers, goes into A tier, not A+ tier, mostly because she's outclassed within her class by free-to-play alternatives for the most part. Without RNG buff, she only hits 20k. She has a pretty good RNG chance, but it's still RNG chance, so not gonna count for farming, but it's 25k if it hits. We also have Murasaki in the same tier. Murasaki is kinda of an oddball, because she has both a good farming utility and both good good challenge cost utility. She's really good for farming the stakes request node, for example, and she has because she has the money power mod. She also has an AoE buff block, which is really unique. She has team-wide buff removal, resistant, debuff immunity, which is really neat. She cannot hard sloop, however, her main problem with farming is that her NP takes an ungodly amount of time. So there's that. Yeah, kind of jack of all trades, but in a better way than, say, Ivan, since she has a 30% battery and a power mod, which actually lets her deal pretty solid damage. 36k on power mod versus 19k without power mod. Next, we have Scheherazade. Scheherazade, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Before buff, she's kind of like B tier. Without looping post buff, she gets 30% battery, so she goes into B plus tier. However, she also can outsloop, and she's pretty good at it. So, with outslooping in mind, she's in A tier with the 30% battery buff, obviously. And she has also a niche power mod versus kings and queens, which are kind of rare with class advantage. And she does have a pretty good utility in stall comps, since she has like teammate charm, teammate guts, stuff like that. Also, beat drain, I believe. Next, we got the 4 stars, and boy, these guys are pretty good. Starting off with Nitocris, who goes in S tier, definitely. She can insta-kill most wave ones, basically. She has 100% plus battery, which is pretty fucking insane on AoE. Her MP damage is weak, but again, insta-death, so definitely an S tier. Next, we have Helena, who, let me think, let me check my notes. A plus tier. She has 20% team-wide battery. She has Rainbow Steroid. I think it's RNG reliant, but it's well, you're not counting it on her damage. Her damage is pretty mediocre, unfortunately. It's like what? Oh, 23k? What? Okay. No, with RNG, yeah. Without RNG, it's only 15k. Yeah, that was weird. But yeah, mainly she's here because she has a AoE with 20% teammate battery. And she's by far the best servant to reroll for. Next, who do we have? We have, I believe, Caskill in B+. He has an interesting support kit. Kinda like, to be honest, he has charisma. He has arts charisma, which is kinda his main niche. He can't really MP loop, despite having a 10 hit arts MP, which is like, what the fuck. But yeah, mainly an offensive arts supporter. Can be used for farming as a wave buffer. Like as a wave 1 clear and then can buff. However, he has no battery, so he isn't exactly great at that. Next, we have Nursery Rhyme, who goes in C tier, I believe. Yeah. The main problem is that her damage is shit and that there's no lack of competition, even if she does have a 40% battery, which is pretty nice. Yeah, she has no damage steroids, so her MP damage is like 14k. She can be decently useful as a CQ DPS if you really want to, because she has a crit up and morph and MP drain. But yeah, she's pretty niche. She's pretty much Bone Saber. Next we have Edson and Summer Murray, who, well, Edison, he's the thing is that there's not anything great for challenge quests to use him with because there's no Castoria. So right now his only niche is well, outside of like Tamam accounts where he's still outclassed, is Nitocris. He can buff Nitocris' that chance that lets her get certain over certain thresholds that she wouldn't otherwise cross over. Meanwhile, Marie is a weak AoE and damage dealer with charisma, basically. Not not really much to say here. And then finally we have oh boy, yeah, sorry to say that, but Liz Caster is an F tier. She has 21k damage and absolutely nothing else. That's her entire job, and she's bad at it. Like, she's outclassed by fucking Geronimo. How do you do that? How do you fucking do that? But yeah, we'll get to Geronimo later. Next we got Sig. In my original notes, I had him in A plus, going into S tier if you can loop him. However, I didn't yet have him, and well, this guy is proof of why having everyone would be better than theorizing for most of servants when making a tier list. Kind of discrediting myself, but yeah, he's a bit harder to loop with than I thought. He does pair up really nice with Paracelsus. He in this last event, there was the assassin node. I used Paracelsus, Sig, Weaver, and Telamu. That was a really nice, really easy comp. However, not everyone has Weaver or Telamu, so doesn't, like, you know. So we'll go in A tier without looping and A plus tier with looping. However, like, he's still really good, even without looping, because he's 30% battery and the highest damage on the week after. That's free to play, I believe, unless someone else beats him in that category. Let's see. Nope, doesn't. 24k highest damage, almost 25k actually. Fortunately, his implementation is kind of long, but whatever. Next, we got the 3 stars, and yeah, this guy's going into S tier, 100 fucking percent. Like, Jesus Christ. Absolutely the best 3-star servant in the game. He has an 80% battery, 20% AoE arts buff, and a fucking targeted 50% MP game buff. Like, you can use him for clearing 2 waves, or you can use him to clear wave 1 and then make your wave 2 and 3 clearer gain a much more MP refund. This guy's fucking insane. For a 3-star, especially. But, yeah. Next, we have Avikebron, who goes into A tier, I believe. He, well, basically, until he gets his strengthening, he's kind of just weaker Paracelsus. However, his slightly higher damage does come up. Like, for example, during Christmas,
I had a comp where I used Burn because he had the higher damage, and Paracelsus would not have cleared wave 1 since it was neutral. But yeah, he also is kind of mostly why the think he's in 8 tier. However, not entirely yet because he's not strengthened yet. So it only does like 14k damage compared to 20k. So, but yeah. Next, who do we have here? Sorry, we have Babbage in C tier, and also we have kind of a controversial pick, Mephistopheles, and a less controversial pick, Coolcaster. This is the pre-strengthening of Coolcaster, mind you, before he gets fucking insane. Oh, sorry, wrong tier. Whoopsie, whoopsie. Yeah, Mephistopheles' tier was kind of weird. But yeah, Babbage is kind of like a Buster Crit DPSer who can't really gen his own stars, but can dish out quite a bit of damage. The main problem with him is his animation are oh my god, like the absolute worst in the game, and the absolute fucking longest in the game. Jesus Christ. Coolcaster 30% battery, atrocious damage, and this is pre-buff, so no 80% battery yet. And then we got Mephistopheles, who was initiating challenge quest for his buff block. Finally, we got Geronimo and Gilscaster. Geronimo is basically like Liz, but with 2k more damage. He's still terrible, but not as terrible. And then we got Gils, who is, in my opinion, the single worst servant in the game. Because, like, at MP1, which is what we are basing our calcs on, he deals 6.999k damage. Like, what the fuck? I don't. He doesn't have anything useful besides that anyway. So what the fuck? Next we got Changong. Changong. If you have a basic account, it goes into A plus tier. However, with all the supports, I will say it goes into S tier. He is very versatile. He has a lot of roles. Basically, he can Buster buff, he can be kind of like a Rush, he has pretty decent damage for a free-to-play caster. He can act as a level 1 counter for challenge quests. He can give 10% team weight battery, which does come up quite a bit, although not so much the teammate aspect, just the fact that, like, for example, I have MLB imaginary element, but I don't have kaleidoscope, so that comes up a lot for me. And what bumps me in this tier is that if you have all the supports, you can cycle them all and use them. It's kind of a mean comp, to be honest. In general, the fact that if you have a stronger account, you can use him better in general, even without all the supports to do that. That puts him in S tier. Like on a weak account, he's not as important as other free-to-play units, basically. Yeah, and finally for the AoEs, we got Shakespeare, who goes into A tier. Basically, kinda got cucked by Changong on the Buster buffing side, and has a 20% battery targeted still, so that's really good. And something to note about him, which is underrated and really nice, is that he has one of the shortest MP animations in the game, which is something I'm a big fan of. So yeah, those are the areas. Next up, we got the very short category of the single targets. First off, we got Sensang, who goes into A plus tier because she has an 80% battery, and I don't feel like I need to elaborate further. And well, she has decent damage. She has 37k. It's decent enough. And next we have Eliasville, who goes into B tier. She has 50k damage, but doesn't have a battery, and she debuffs herself afterwards, which fucking sucks, but not the biggest deal. Next we have the 4 stars. Cersei is in 8 tier because she has a 100% battery. She also can work in charm locking console. Well, she pick locks, not charm locks, but basically the same thing. She also has the defense buff, which comes quite in handy. Her main problem is that if you want to use her for farming, you kind of want her at MP5. Otherwise, she doesn't really come up much. And Senzang wants MP2. But yeah, kind of ignoring that, still pretty solid. It's a bit difficult to change evaluation on depending on the threshold a servant at a certain MP11 can hit. So I'm kind of gonna ignore the thresholds and just look at the maths, like the general MP damage, the battery and shit. Next we got Cashew, who goes into B plus tier. She has also 50k damage, I believe. Yeah, 50k. And she also has demonic power buff, power mod that brings it 70k, 76k. And she also has charisma, so she's a step above Helia. And finally, we got Queen of Sheba, which is in B tier. She doesn't have the damage of Helia, not nearly as much. Her damage is kinda whatever. 26k. However, she does have some decent teammate buffs, so there's that. And finally, we have Medea, who goes into B plus tier. She has 15. She has a 100% battery. And let me check the damage because I'm not sure whether she deals more damage than MP1 Cersei. No. No, she still deals less damage. However, she does have a decent niche at buff removal. However, she's mostly outclassed by servants like Paris and later on Alexander at that role since they don't need to hit an NP to get those off. Finally, we got to the support bronze, and I don't need to explain this to being in SS tier. I don't. Moving on. What I do need to explain is why I'm only putting, well, why I'm putting Merlin in S plus tier. Because honestly, I could drop him in S tier. Simply because he's okay for farming. Like, well, he's good for farming, but he's not great. But his main niche is being in the challenge quest guy. However, he's the challenge quest guy. Like, he's the absolute pinnacle best servant SSS altruistic tier of challenge quests. So I'm gonna put him in S plus tier, but it's kind of like an 11th place, which is controversial, I know. And next we got Tamamo, who is also kind of controversial because some people would put her in S plus tier, some people would put her in A plus or in even A tier. This is kind of late, but I would certainly recommend picking Artoria if you already have waiver over Tamamo on the SSR ticket. But yeah, Tamamo, like kind of like Merlin, where they are both all right for farming. Tamamo obviously for art slooping, while Merlin for just buster buffing and 20% teammate battery. Tamamo is not nearly as good as Merlin for challenge quests, but she's still pretty damn solid. The best servants for challenge quests. But for stall and semi-stall. However, you could definitely argue for her being in A plus tier. She's kind of buffed by being a support, so there's that. A big support, I should say. Next, we have the 4 stars, and this is definitely higher than most people put her, but I'm putting Miyu in B plus simply and exclusively because she has a 30% targetable battery. And that's all, folks. The rest of our kit can pretty much be described as we have Merlin at home, and next we have let's see, Media Lily and Rizville. I'm gonna go with the script and put Media Lily C tier and Rizville in D tier, but honestly, like for stall comps, okay, no, I'm gonna. I'm gonna double check their kits, but Team White Guts is better than Team White Debuff Clans in my opinion. Yeah, I'm putting Arizville in. I'm swapping them because like honestly, I don't care if you heal a lot. If you get killed, it doesn't really matter. Arizville prevents death with Guts. So even if she heals a lot less and can't spam her MP nearly as much, her main utility is a lot better, and she can also solo stuff, so that's better. Next, we got Asclepius, or better known as Asclap. He goes into A tier. It's kind of like much better, I always feel. Both have guts, teammate guts. I don't think he guts himself, but depending on what you want to do, that might be for the best. He can also kinda act as farming support. I have him, and I don't think I've ever used him for farming though, so take that with a grain of salt. Mostly a plus like ourselves in the art looping department, well, MP looping department in general. But he has 20% team-wide battery and 20 or 30% MP gain up, basically. Next, we have a very controversial placement because the Mega Nerds hate him and casuals absolutely fucking love him. I'm gonna put him Hans in B tier, which is kinda in the middle. Okay, not really. Probably most nerds will put him in C tier. I don't mean nerds in a bad way. I'm definitely a nerd in FGO. I mean like the people who would help newcomers to the game to answer like what's good and what's bad and stuff. Like me. because like he's a lot of fun, but his entire kit is RNG based basically. So it can be used as a buffer, can be used for challenge quests, but there's usually someone better. Usually. And finally, for the casters, we got Mozart, who will go into the same tier as Hans. Kinda the opposite because there's no RNG with him. 50 stars. That's it. And arts buff, which is nice. The rest of his kit doesn't matter at all, and he's better off if he dies immediately. But yeah, he does have a decent niche for challenge quests. So yeah. Next up, we got the assassin, and boy, we're gonna have to tear these guys a new one. Like the 0.9 multiplier isn't helping them at all. But honestly, even without that, they wouldn't be very good. Let's start with the worst, the best of the worst. Like that's the best 5-star AoE assassin right there. B plus Semiramis. If you look at her like in the MP damage charts, you will see 25k damage. That's not that bad. Come on. Too bad you actually need 8 stars to get that damage steroid. Without it, you only get like what 16k or something like that. Yeah, 16k. That's pathetic. So she's kind of like Nero, where she has noodle damage without external buffs. She has 30% battery that you have to level, like Nero. She's better than Nero because there's not really much competition when it comes to AoE assassins, unfortunately. And next we also have my waifu from Fate Shutendoji and Cleopatra. I'm gonna put the Cleopatra in B mostly for a friend who was like, look at how much she gains with an art crit. It's basically almost 100% from an art crit, which is yeah kind of impressive. But her kit is very lackluster, and her damage isn't great. And Shutendoji has really nice damage and team steroids, but she doesn't have a charisma yet, a battery yet, so she's just an offensive support with high damage. Honestly, I have no idea why. Okay, I'm dropping Cleopatra in C. Sorry, I haven't spoken to him in Fusion, I believe. My guy. Yeah, Fusion. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Her MP damage is really not good. Oh wait, never mind. Oh, it's 27k. With if RNG hits, without it, it's 19k. Yeah. She has 10% MP regen, and yeah, sit here. Next, we got the 4 stars, and definitely the best AoE assassin is Gray. Was 29k damage and a 20% battery. Unfortunately, you have to use all of her skills, and they all have a really long animation. But at least they are all. You don't have to target anyone with them. So there's that. Also, you don't have to level up her battery.
Next, who do we have? We have Samerushi in B+ tier, because she is the AoE assassin with the highest battery, 40%. Her damage is pee pee poo poo. It's 14k. It's nothing. But we're kind of scrambling for what we can find usable here. Next, we have pretty much everyone else in D tier, without looping, at least. But with looping, at least Skata goes into C tier, and Okita goes into B tier. They kinda get saved by Skadi, basically. They are not great loopers by any means, but they're usable. Also, note that Samerushi's stun lasts only for one turn, which means on your next turn, basically means it's hard to break chain with her MP, but she recovers next turn. So it's not like Fran. But yeah, they have, well, Summer's attack has pretty decent damage, 29k, I believe. So she, no, 24k, never mind. And she has insta-kill. Okay, that's really bad. She's usable more than these guys that just fucking suck. Summary to Chris has some interesting application challenge quest wise. Same with Kato Danzo, but not really much to write home about. And Consort 2 is probably the lowest servant with battery item ranking, mainly because of the buff removal on her MP. Also, she has vampirism, which is annoying. Next, we got Fumakotaro, who's also in D tier, kinda in the same boat as Kazudanzo. And yeah, and next, finally, we got the Phantom of the Opera, who goes in F tier. The only thing you can use him for is he has a really short MP animation, and that's it, pretty much. If you got Bunyan, doesn't really even have that. We get to the single targets ones, the single target MPs, and finally, slightly better pool of servants. We got Summer Kama, normal Kama. S tier, basically kinda like Kintoki Rider. 50% battery, quick MP, nice damage. Also has charm locking in our kit, kinda, so that helps. Damage is kinda low, 42k, but overall, really solid servant. Next, we have a hot take, to say the least. I'm going to put MHX on the same tier as Jack, but above. Because I believe that MHX is better. Let me explain. Basically, the MHX's buffs scale better with Skadi's buffs, and they are 3-turn buffs as opposed to Jack's 1-turn buff. And she can also be used decently well against Sabers, which is nice. Her main problem is that she has a double arts, double quick deck instead of a triple quick deck. Which can be useful, but is generally to her detriment. Also, her survivability is better than Jack's because of it not tying as much with her offensive steroid. Next, we have Kingasan. He's pretty good if you need insta-kill, or if you want an assassin solar. He has that gorilla deck, which works, I guess. His quick card is insane, but it's because he only has one and he's supposed to be an assassin. So, yeah, his main job is insta kill. Kind of a similar deal with Lishu one. His main niche is insta kill. They both do pretty decent damage, I believe. First, the Sun has 51k, and Lee is 42k, which to compare, Milchix is 45k and Jack is 43k. I forgot to mention that Jack has an easier to access power mod, where she does become really strong at 65k. But yeah. Next we have 4-stars, and first off we have Shiki, who goes easily in A+ tier. Really nice free-to-play unit. Let me see. Damage is 55k, which is really strong. 30% battery, can spam RMP quite a bit as insta-death. Pretty good for insta-death if you need it on a single target. Yeah, I definitely use her quite a bit. Next we have Wu, who goes into B+ tier. Basically a budget quick support. She has she's kind of like Alexander, but with also advanced down, single target, I believe. So yeah, charisma, quick up, quick charisma, and defense down. Nice stuff overall. And the last good assassin we have is Carmela, B tier. 27% battery has defense down, and basically a weaker Jack. 31k damage on no power mod, 46k on female power mod. So yeah, pretty decent. Yeah. Next we have Emi Assassin, who is kind of interesting, has like taunt and some other interesting stuff. Can kinda loop his MP somewhat, sorta, not really. His base MP damage his base MP gain is shit, but yeah. Has ignoring possibility. Oh yeah, he has scapegoat, which is nice. Can apply target focus to someone else. Can do decent crits. Can work for semi-stall comps too, because he has MP drain on his MP, which is really nice. So yeah. Next we have Chiyome. I'm gonna confess I kind of forgot most of what these guys do. The low tier assassins are so plentiful and so bad. So I fucked up the tier ordering. Oh god, I keep. Okay, got it. Let's see. What does Chioma have? I remember she has like PC and skill seal, which is pretty niche. She has she has an MP gain, 30% MP up, MP battery. Sorry, she has 30% battery. She does 20. She has 30k damage. Actually, you know what? I will I'll bump her. C tier, B tier. Well, she has a better battery than. Okay, I'm putting her in B tier. Huh. And that's why you double check stuff, folks. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Finally, we have Yanking, Mr. Fister, as he's called. Uh, this guy sucks. Yes. He's got like a weird crit star distribution kit. You can call it that. I don't know. It's I don't know what they were thinking honestly with him. Yeah. Okay. Going on to the 3 stars. Not much better. Jinke is the least bad one by far. C tier. Good damage. That's all, folks. Basically, is the deal. It's like let's see, 42k. Yeah, good damage, quick, so works with Scuddy. Can't really loop because it's a one hit, unfortunately. Next we got 100 Persona in D tier because she can regen quite a bit of her MP, so she can spam it quite a bit. We don't have Castoria yet, so that will buff her up by quite a bit because she can Castoria loop somewhat, which is cool. But yeah, and everyone else is in after. You gotta say about the Izzo that if you have him a bit MP, higher MP level, he's not that bad. But at MP1 is pretty miserable. It's like let's see, 14k, 29k on power mode, and that's not very good at all. Sorry. Next we got the 2 stars, and they are not much better honestly. Cursed Arm goes into C tier mainly because of his utility at P1, at level 1, because he has a pretty decent level 1 skill to gain crit stars. He jumps like, I believe, 15 turn 1 and 15 turn 2, which is pretty nice. Definitely one of the better level 1 supports in the game. That kind of buffs you up quite a bit, but Samson's success, I don't think I need to elaborate it. And as much as the memes are fun and all, both Corday and Sasaki Kojiro suck quite a bit of ass too, unfortunately. Just beaters, and Jinka is better at that. Next we have the support ones, and this is a bit of an sorry. First we got Osaka Pehime. Forgot she has a 20% targetable battery, and she has crit buffs and a bunch of hero buffs. She's general. She's one of the worst support units in the game, but she's still a support unit. So goes in B. Hot take: Steno B+. Can farm some very weird, very niche nodes, and is very good in charm locking comps. As much as it's fun to meme on her, she is really not that bad. She has 2 pretty good niches, like, and very unique niches too.
So yeah, I could put her in B, but I couldn't. I can't really justify putting her below B tier, and B plus is definitely where I feel she belongs. Especially now that we finally have gotten some nodes that she can clear. Next we have Jekyll and Hyde, F tier. Not much else to say, honestly. Kind of like Gills, Saber, really wonky servant. And finally, we got Matahari. Um, can be used for challenge quests for defense towns, basically. That's our job, really. And Booba.
Next, we got the Berserkers, and if you hear a different audio, it's because I moved out. So yeah, we got Arjun Alter, S plus tier. I don't think anyone will argue with that. It's he does like 37k damage without counting the 1.5. That's like 50k on MP1. That's fucking insane, assuming the debuff hits. And even then, usually, a lot of the time, you use a Black Suit for farming, and Black Suit has a guaranteed stun. So if you use Black Suit, you don't even have to worry about that. It's just an extra click, an extra 3 clicks, which, okay, yeah, that kind of sucks, but it's okay. You can cope with that. And next we got Raiko. Yeah, Raiko hasn't aged too well. She has a Buster crit kit with good power mods and pretty mediocre damage if she doesn't hit power mods, and her animations are atrociously long. Um, like honestly, if you don't hit her power mod, the free-to-play Berserkers are better for just farming without carding because they have much quicker animations. So that's not great. But she can do solid carding damage, crit damage, and such. Next we have Summer Musashi, who this is controversial. I'm gonna put her in S tier even before Castoria's release. She would be in S plus with Castoria's release, and without all the looping support that she needs, she's probably like let me double check her damage. Probably above Raiko. However, if you have what she needs for farming, aka pretty much either a super scope or near bride, you kind of need those, and you probably want Tamamo either way. If you have everything that she needs to loop, she can loop pretty much any node, any regular node, really, really well. And she doesn't even take up many clicks herself, just 2. Her MP animation isn't too long, so yeah, definitely, in my opinion, an S tier with looping support. However, you could definitely argue for a lower placement. I don't care too much. And next we have Xiangyu. Without looping goes in B tier, and with looping goes in B plus tier. He's mostly just Raiko at home. However, he does have a quick number phantasm, so Scadi looping, even just Scadi damage buff. Unfortunately, he is very much outclassed by other berserkers uh, by other generic loopers. He 100% requires a super scope, which is never a good thing. so to properly loop. And besides that, his kit is really just much worse than Raiko's without it, without counting the fact that he is quick, which is definitely a big plus, but still. Um, Although I think he does a little bit more damage than Raiko without power mods. So there's that, I guess. Next, we have the AoEs. We have Fran first up, who goes in A+. Um, Before Arjuna came out, she was the queen of AoE DPS, AoE generic DPS, and even without that, she's really, really good in combination with Skadi. You can use her for Skadi looping with Super Scope and Plugsuit BB or Nightingale. But what's more really nice is like using her in Wave 1 and then using her in Wave 3 because she can regain a lot of her RMP power. Yes. You can use another DPS for Wave 2 and she can refund 100% on Wave 1 usually. So yeah, definitely very solid. And even without without Skadi, she still does 32k damage on a single target and 24k damage on the others. So yeah, really, really solid. Next, we have who do we have? We have the Mamokat, who's basically just one of the free-to-play Zerkers, but quick. Like honestly, pretty much her niche. She can't seriously do Skadiroop, but the fact that she is quick means that she gets more. She gets a big buff from Skadi just damage-wise. Next we got Chacha, who is in D tier. She does have a 10% regen on RMP, which is really nice, or at least will be if she wasn't in the same class as someone else who will see who just straight up outclasses her in that niche, and she doesn't even have more damage. And most egregiously of all, she has, I think, one of, if not the slowest pin animations in the fucking game. Which is really bad for a farmer. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like 17 seconds long or something. Finally, we got Lancelot, who, without looping, goes in D tier. Honestly, his damage is fucking dog shit. Even if he is quick, so he gets saved from F tier. With looping, holy shit! This is probably my most controversial placement yet. And honestly, you could seriously argue for him being in S tier with Musashi, but his requirements are slightly less strict to loop, even if he does kind of want more copies. He is a permanent 4-star, even if he doesn't have banners usually. So kind of depends on what you have, honestly. Like at the end of the day, these tier lists just for fun because like everything depends on your account. But yeah, pretty much if you he's a universal farmer. If he has the things he needs to farm, he can farm anything. And his requirements are a bit stricter than most other than the Scadi loopers in S tier, but they are also he also can loop
node, really. Any regular node, basically. Oof. Ah. We got Darius, who goes in C tier, and Kiyohime, who goes in D tier for our 3 stars. Basically, they're kind of just really vanilla farmers. Kyo does do a little bit more damage on a single target. However, you need to. Oh no, never mind. That's pre-strengthening. Post-strengthening, Darius does about the same amount of damage on everyone, and he only he doesn't even need to level any skills. Actually, yeah, no, and I don't think he needs to level any skills. So he is really cheap in that regard. So that's his main niche. Kyuhyume needs to level 2 skills. Let me just double check on Darius. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, double check it. Double check that he doesn't need any skill investment. That's really, really, really nice. Next we got Eric. Eric is kind of like pretty much, if you're not a whale, he's probably like D tier with Kiyohime. If you are a whale, probably maybe even a bit little higher than B tier, but there's better servants for what he does. But there's one better servant for what he does. So I'm gonna put him in B tier. Basically, what his niche is, he has a really short animation. So we can clear wave. He has a slightly lower damage than Kiyohime, although he only needs one skill leveled. So yeah, he's pretty decent. Next, we have Spartacus, who goes in S tier. I don't use him anymore because I have someone else later in the tier list at really high MP level. But before that, holy shit, did I use Spartacus a lot. And even after that sometimes the fact that he is a 1-star with a 1-star cost does come up. He is your budget farmer besides a rush for pretty much any wave 1 or a lot of wave 2s. Pretty weak damage, but 30% battery on a 1-star AoE Berserker can't really be beat. You can't really ask for more, honestly. He's fucking insane. Honestly, before Arjunator, I could have considered him in S plus tier. Like, honestly. Finally, we got Bunyan. Bunyan goes into A tier. Basically, better Eric. He has slightly lower damage, but he has some support option and the fastest AoE MP animation in the game. I think it was kind of his whole point in being made, honestly. Yeah, really solid for whale farming, basically. Honestly, for whale farming, it probably could go in A plus tier, but the tier list is not just for whales. Let's put it that way. Next, we have the single targets. So we're gonna start off with Kitoki, who goes into S tier. He doesn't have his strengthening yet, so his damage is slightly lackluster. Like what is it? 47k MP1, which isn't ideal, but he still has a motherfucking 50% battery, so can't really complain that isn't absolutely fucking broken yet. So yeah, S tier. Next, who do we have? We have let's see. Well, first we'll go with Qualter, who goes in Controversial tiering, A tier. Basically, you don't really need your own co-author, and even when you borrow him, there is now better soloers for you to borrow. So he goes in A tier. Duman isn't out yet, so there's really not much of a farming niche for him outside of just big damage, which he is definitely a class that by Lubu. But yeah. Next up we have Vlad, who at the moment I am not really considering looping such, so at least not for him. So he goes in B tier. His damage is really low, but he has a 30% battery, so that's decent enough, I guess. Like what even is his damage? It's 36k. Yeah, that's really weak. Unless I'm missing a buff in the chart, but in because it is in JP it's 49k. I don't care to check if it's still that. If it's that in NA, I mean. Finally, we got Hijikata, who goes in D tier. Kinda shit for anything that isn't just Unga Bunga big damage number shit. At 1 HP, he does 99k damage, which is really impressive, but unfortunately, that's literally his only niche. So, okay, he doesn't even have guts yet. So you're pretty much forced to pair him with someone with guts or with a mystic god with guts to use him in challenge quests. And without that, his damage is 49k, which is okay, but not that great. You wouldn't use it for farming. So yeah, really disappointing unit. Finally, we got Shakes Salter, who without Skadi goes in A tier, with Skadi goes in A plus tier. Basically, really strong with Skadi. Can kill pretty much anything with Skadi, basically. Yeah, basically just really good single target for the Skadi meta, basically. Kind of the universal DPS with Skadi. Next, we got the 4 stars. Berserker goes in S tier. Yes, I know that she only has 20% battery compared to 50% with Kintoki. However, her damage is fucking outstanding, and she also has decent survivability, which is something that comes up sometimes for like somewhat tough fights for Youthbringer. It's 67k damage. That's 20k more than Kintoki at the moment. Really, really strong MP damage. Next, we have Penthesilea. There we go. In A tier. Wait, that's not Penthesilea. Okay, got it. Yeah, Penthesilea, A tier. Really nice support move pool. She has a team with 20% charisma and buster charisma. She also has a 20% region battery, which is really nice. So yeah, even if her MP damage is not great, it's only like 40k. Next we have Hercules, Berserker, goes in B plus tier. Kinda weaker Q alter, but not by much, and in some scenarios he's stronger. Really solid soloer. Really a big noob trap because of how good he was thought to be in year one, unfortunately. But yeah, next we have Summer Nobu in B tier, alongside Ibaraki Dojin in B tier. Ibaraki has charisma and has buff removal, and she also has self debuff removal, I think, or is it teammate? Let me check. Let's see. It's not teammate yet. It will be teammate later. No, not teammate targeted later. So for now, yeah, she has attack up and buff removal. Meanwhile, Nobu before strengthening was definitely in D tier, but she gets a buff where she now sets applies burning on the field, so she finally has a niche. And with it being an NP strengthening, she also gets pretty decent, pretty alright damage, like 42k, and no, actually 51k with the burning field up. And she also has a divine power mod, so yeah, she can support your other nobles. Next, we have Kyokoyo in C tier. She's kinda like Ibaraki, where she's, like Anish Zerker. The fuck is happening with my mouse for a second? But yeah, Kyoko is basically just a slightly worse Ibaraki. Where Ibaraki has charisma and buff removal, Kyokoyu has overcharge and debuff removal. So it's slightly less universal, but still definitely a very nice niche to have. And finally, we have Beowulf, who is just a bit stick. I'm not sure even he doesn't even have his power mod up yet. So yeah, just 47k damage, so the same as Kintoki, but literally nothing else on his kit. Like I guess he has sure hit. Yeah. And we also have Nyanta. Kinda like MHX without Skadi, B tier with Skadi, B plus tier. Really good DPS with Skadi, basically. Next, we have 3 stars. We have Lubu in B tier, A tier, A tier, A tier. Lubu is okay. Is basically A tier if you don't have Jalzerker. If you do have Jalzerker, he is completely useless because he is 100% completely outclassed by Jalzerker in every single possible way. Unfortunately. However, if you don't have Jalzerker, he will use him a lot. He does really, really, really strong single target damage. I know I did. Next, we have Mori, who is considering the MP1 thing kinda shit, and even without it, is not that great. He is a berserker with a suicide wish and not much damage output. Honestly, not enough at least. And next, finally, we have Salome, who is kinda one of the weirdest servants in the game. I'm gonna put her in C tier, but I honestly am not sure entirely what to do with her. But yeah, there are comps with her, so she definitely can work with the right comp. So I'm gonna put her in C tier. Next, we have the status, the non-damaging berserkers. So we have Lightning in D tier. She has 50% buster up. Whoop-de-doo! You know, Shakespeare has 40% buster up. Gong has 50% buster up. I know they're one turn, but still, Nurse is a berserker, so she can't really be used in stall comps effectively. So her healing is pretty irrelevant. She has debuff class, which is really good about her, and debuff block ability too. But that's pretty much it. Next we have Asterios. I'm gonna be kind and put him in C tier because when his comps work, they are really fun. Okay, no, I'm gonna put him in D tier. I'm sorry, Asterios. This was off script, but yeah, I can't really justify putting him in C tier, honestly. You can use him for a couple of fights, like Solomon, I believe. Basically anything that has really high hit counts that will charge up his bar every turn. You can use him to completely stall out. But yeah, he is really niche. And finally, we have Caligula, who is completely fucking pointless. Like, holy shit, like, Gills and Jekyll, their kits make sense. They are not good kits at all, but they make complete sense. Besides tactics on Gills, but they make sense. What the fuck is Caligula's point? What are you using him for? What? Besides the memes, okay, but it's not really even a fun meme. Holy shit. He's definitely one of the worst servants in the game. Like, in the bottom of F tier. Honestly. Honestly.
Finally, we're at the last stretch, guys. We have the extra class. So, starting out with Manigirl, who is going into B tier. This is post buff. And also Amakusa, who's going into B tier. These guys are both pretty niche, but also they have very unique niches. We got Amakusa, who's kinda the best servant if you want team-wide buff removal, at least on an MP. Meanwhile, you have Arterial Ruler, who is the best deck shuffler. Both are pretty niches, but they do come up. Their MP damages are pretty low, and Samartoria has a 40% battery, which is okay, I guess. It's like the rest of our kit doesn't really work for farming. Basically, that's the problem. You are probably not gonna use her over Spartacus, but if you have literally nothing better, you could use her for farming, I guess, sometimes. Next, we have Samba Quetz, who goes in B plus tier. She has a bit of an offensive support kit, which is kinda nice, and she does hit decently hard. Being a ruler, it means that she doesn't hit that hard, but She hits about as hard as the free-to-play Berserkers, and she has a charisma on top of that, so that kinda buffs her rankings quite a bit compared to those. And she also gets crit buff, teammate crit buff on her MP, which is okay. And she has crit support, which is okay, I guess. Main thing is that she's basically a free-to-play Berserker, but with charisma, and who costs a bit more team slot, and who deals a little bit less damage, I believe. Let me double check. Counting for the 1.5 multiplayer at least. Yeah, she does a little bit less damage, but charisma outweighs that. Next we got the single targets, starting off with Astrea. Let me double check. I am not entirely sure. Yeah, A tier. She's basically she can outsloop her MP, and wait, actually, hold on a second. Can I really put her that much above flat? Okay, no, yeah, she's got she can crit really hard, and she has support capabilities, which makes her pretty decent also for farming. Although usually if you use her for farming, you want her at MP5, so that doesn't really count here that much. Kinda like Cersei, although both of them don't come up in farming much until post Castoria. Not necessarily because of Castoria, just because of nodes being more favorable towards single target servants who don't deal wave 3 damage. But yeah, she has an art script kit, she has support capabilities. Yeah, she is a really solid DPS, basically. And next we have Summer Martha. She's kind of weird. It's kind of the best way to describe her. She has a 30% battery, which is her best trait. And she has a gorilla deck, which is kinda nice, I guess. However, her main problem is she's really power mod dependent. She has like 4 power mods, but unless you're hitting either demon, which is not demonic, it's just demon, divine or undead, her damage is really lackluster. With that, it is good damage if you don't count that she's a ruler, so she's not really getting class advantage, so you would rather be using someone with class advantage instead. Next, we have the supports, starting off with QSH, Kyushin Hai, whatever the fuck his name is. He's going into S tier easily. He is the best soloer in the game by far, so very much S tier. Next, we have Jeanne, who goes in A tier because she's really solid for stock comps for challenge quests. She also has some challenge. She also has some solo capabilities. You could put her in B plus. Honestly, don't really care too much, but yeah, pretty good, pretty damn solid for challenge quests. And finally, for the rulers, we got Sherlock Holmes, who ironically wants to kind of be kept at level 1 to be his best. Um, like
he has basically one of the best level 1 skills that isn't a taunt. It gives like 20 crit stars, MP seal, and now it got debuffed to give him the all enemies at 20% arts resist debuff, which is really nice. Unfortunately, his other two skills after that are really weak, and his MP is also decently weak, although it does certainly come up. But usually, if you use him at level 1, you want him to pop off skill 1, pop off his MP, and then just die. Because the rest of his kit is like weird arts crit carding servant, which no, doesn't fucking work. Like all the other gimmick weird servants are in F tier. Don't use him for that. He has better stats, so it'd probably be in like C or D tier with like Hoswin, but yeah, no. Not even. Probably D tier. Yeah. Okay, so next we have the Avengers. We're gonna start off with the Monkey Nobu, who before the buff I would have definitely put in D tier. But post buff she got quite a lot better. I don't entirely remember why though, so I'm gonna double check 1 second. I believe she got Divine Power Mod. Let me check. Yeah, she got Heaven Attribute Power Mod on Burning, which is really strong considering pretty much all Divine servants are Heaven Attribute, and you know that's kind of her main gimmick with Nobunaga. She's the Divine Killer, so her damage is now like 39k on. Wait 1 second. It's gonna. It's high. I am not gonna try to make sense of the fucking shit, fucking MP damage shit, because I don't think it stacks both Divine and Sky for some fucking reason. But rest assured, her damage versus Divine is actually really high, even considering she's an Avenger and doesn't get class advantage. Next up, we have the Loopers, and both Dantes and Space Ishtar are going into S+ tier. It's kind of weird to put Zerkalot in S+ alongside Dantes, although Zerkalot was definitely the better of the two during the last Lotto, so I guess it's not that far-fetched. But yeah, Dantes is the gold standard for Scally Loopers. And if you have him, Scally and Double Kaleidoscope, like you can loop anything. That is actually true, you know, which is almost everything nowadays. And Lancelot is kind of the same thing, and Space Star is also kind of the same thing, but no, I don't think that works. But yeah, no, you need the Black Suit, but you don't really need the Super Scope. Basically, if you have any of these three with with Skadi and either Weaver or Kaleidoscope or kind of whatever, you can farm pretty much anything. And I'm also kind of biased because I have an NP4 Space Ishtar, which I use for pretty much fucking everything. Like at the end of the tier list, I'm gonna just tell you who I have, who I don't have, who I use, who I don't use, and so you can know kind of my biases, where I know more of my shit and where I don't.
where I'm just Fury crafting. But yeah, they're the universal loopers. They are extremely fucking good if you have what it takes to make them good. Otherwise, Dante's and Zerkulot are both pretty fucking terrible. Zerkulot would be in D tier, and Dante's will be in C tier. Space Ishtar would probably be in A plus tier simply because 50% battery, charisma with the 30% charisma instead of 20% for allies. No class advantage, but much higher MP damage on base, and also the ability to change card types is really fucking strong. Even though you won't use it much after Castoria comes out, which is pretty fucking hilarious to me, frankly. But yeah. Oh, sorry, it's like almost 2 a.m. I don't know why I decided to record right now. Next up, we have Gorgon and Huayai. Gorgon going into the tier. Her only real niche is that she has a 15% team-wide region MP region on her MP, which is really awkward, and I don't feel like you're gonna use it much. Her MP damage is pretty mid considering she's an Avenger. So yeah, although considering that we are ranking Salieri with MP1 damage, I am not entirely sure what I was thinking when putting them in the same tier, because Salieri does like 9k damage less than Gorgon, and the rest of his kit is even worse. So, should I put Gorgon in C tier or should I put Salieri in F tier? Let me see. I think I'm gonna put Salieri in F tier. Keep in mind it's MP1 Salieri, MP2 Salieri is perfectly fine, and MP5 Salieri is perfectly fine in D tier, and is one of the easiest story locks to MP5. So if you have him at MP5, it's D tier. You can use him like Darius or Kyoime, kinda pretty similar. A bit worse, but yeah, you can use him if you like need a defense down on wave 3, I guess, and some crit stars, I guess. But honestly, should I even put Gorgon in C tier, since like she has regen on her MP. It's like 15%. It's weird. I'm gonna put her in C tier. All right. Next up, we have Angra Manu, who kinda defies all categorizations, even between AoE, MP, and support. I don't know. I don't care. I'm gonna put him in F tier. Bye bye. Like, what even is his MP damage? Like, holy shit. It's like, it's not even. Okay, it's 15k. Yeah, which is about very similar to Salieri's. All right. Next, we got Jolter, who is very overrated by new players, very overhated by pro players, you could call him. Like, you can use her as a Buster Crit damage dealer for a single target. The main problem is that she doesn't have a class advantage, but she's alright. You can use her somewhat even without class advantage. So I'm gonna put her in B plus tier. Next we have Lobo. Kinda middling. It's basically a worse version of the quick single target Berserkers, basically. Next we got the alter egos, and frankly, I don't have an alter ego, so I might overestimate how good alter egos are for farming. Um, so with that said, I'm gonna put Kiara in S tier. Yeah. I said it because, like, yeah, Kiara is not a berserker, sure, but she's literally half a berserker, which is still better than being a single class if you're trying to be like a wave 2 farmer. And even without that, Kiara has a much higher base damage than pretty much every other 50% battery AoE. So, besides the Ishtar, obviously. So, yeah, I'm gonna put her in S tier. On a kind of similar note, there's also Okitan, who also has a much above average damage output, base damage output, and is an alter ego. Unlike Kiara, who has a 50% battery, she has a 30% battery. And besides farming, she doesn't really do anything. Pre-buff, yeah, she was a bit shit, but post-buff, her damage is really, really good enough, in my opinion. We also have King Protea in B tier, B plus tier. She also has high damage. She has a 20% regen battery, so she can get 40% battery by turn 3. So you can kind of use her. Honestly, I might be seriously overrating her. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Sue me. All right. Next up, who do we have here? Passionate. Ranked there in C tier, but I don't remember her kits, so I'm going to look it up. I believe she has like taunt. She like taunts enemies with her big boobas or something, and self stun. Yeah, yeah, pretty middling kit. Um, does she even have good damage? 20k, no. Yeah, no. That's fucking terrible. I think I put her in C tier just because of taunt. But honestly, for farming, she's fucking terrible. Alright, next we have the single targets. Starting off with Sitonai in A tier. And also Melt in A tier. Although only if you have Skadi. She's kind of like the Berserkers. She's basically just half of MHX, but less fragile. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I don't feel like she's as good as MHX. But I also feel she's definitely stronger than Nyalter. Sitonai is 30% battery alter ego single target has I believe she has a power mod. Let me just find her. No, she has RNG. Oh, great. Am I overrating her? I might be overrating her. Let me double check. She has a invisible to self, damage cut, which is decent. Arts, debuff immune. She has the fucking 20% chance on. She has the fucking 80% chance on 20 attack buff and on 10% on MLB 2030 on the charge skill. Oh, yeah, she has MP drain on dragon enemies plus defense down, decent hit counts, so she can kinda loop. So yeah, she's pretty decent also for semi-stall comps. So yeah. Next, who do we have here? We have the Michaelis. They are also going into A tier. They also have 30% battery, pretty much. They have very good damage, 60k on MP5. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just bit sticks with a battery. So that's pretty fucking good. Next, we have Summer BB, who a lot of people overhate, but I'm definitely putting in a plus tier. Simply because one, she has a really unique niche that's actually pretty good for challenge quests, and you can use her for farming. For like if you need like a bond saver or if you don't have another 50% battery. Like she's not ideal for farming. For farming, she's an A tier. For support, she's an A tier. She's an A tier in both, so I'm buffing her up into A plus tier since most servants are only on their tier for their main thing. Like Jan is an A tier because she's an A tier for challenge quests, maybe even A plus, but she's an F tier for farming. So there's that. Next, we have let's see, where is she? Ganesha is in B plus tier. She has she's kinda like Helena basically, but not a caster, so she doesn't get class advantage. But yeah, she has 20% battery, Timide, plus charisma, plus 2030 on. I think it's like triple 2030, which is really fucking good. She's also very tanky, however, her P damage is really shit. Okay, she gets 15 stars every turn. Alright. Yeah, she also has taunt with invincible, targeted invincibility, plus targeted 30% gain, which is pretty good, although it does apply skill seal, but just use it after use the skills. Use the skills. It's only one turn after all. Also has decreased defense on MP. Also has play invisible on MP. Even heals herself because she needs to, I guess. Yeah, she's pretty decent. Definitely very overhated. Next up, we have Bibi, who is kinda challenge quest specialist. You can use her for with pretty decent results in like Tamamo spam teams, basically. She has buff clans and debuff clans, I believe. Yeah, she's one of the servants you can use with double Scadian Fran for looping alongside the Nightingale. but the rest of our kit is much better. Next we have the foreigners. We have Hokusai, who goes in Biblastier. Her class is shit, but her kit is pretty decent. So if you don't wanna like debuff her because of her class, B tier, B plus tier. If you wanna debuff her for her class, B tier. That's kind of my assessment. But she's pretty decent. She has 30% battery, good enough damage. B plus tier. Next we got Voyager, who definitely rises above his class. That's an S tier for me, definitely. His MP damage is notoriously shit, like terrible. Like even with Scabby, it's really fucking bad. He can't Scabby look much, but he has 50% battery and 20% team-wide battery on his MP. I think that's enough on an AoE MP2. That's really fucking good. For some reason, I thought he was single target, which is why I rate the Hokusai first, I guess. Brain fart moment. But yeah, next we got Yang Guifei. She goes in B tier. She has her niche at killing males pretty well for challenge quests, and not much else. And we have Abigail. She does become really good in later on because of all the weird notes where she is one of the best silver targets around the scene. But for now, she's mostly just weirder media, basically. Not very good. Next, we have MHX6, who is kind of like a weaker version of Astrea. So let me double check her kit. She has Invincible, one turn 50% attack cap, crit stars, plus absorption, decrease absorption. Okay, that's weird. That's really fucking weird. She has Ignore Invincible. That's really good. 30% MP gauge. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's big last year. Asteria only has 20% after all. Also has a power mod against threat to humanity. Also has power mod against sabers. Yeah, B plus tier. Seems solid. Finally, we got Mash. Mash normal, S tier. One of the best servants for challenge quests. Berlin plus Mash plus DPS is notoriously one of the most consistent challenge quest strategies. She has zero cost, so she's really good for farming. Sometimes you just need her. She also has a 20% battery targeted, so even though she has no buffs, the fact that you sometimes do need her in the team means that you can use her for farming even besides backlining her just because of her battery. Yeah, yeah. Also gives everyone bond up, which is okay because it would be better if she gained the bond up herself. But that's an issue if you really want to level someone, I guess. So yeah, definitely S tier. Really fucking strong servant. Unfortunately, cannot say the same for Mash Ortinax, who okay, she's decent. However, if you use her, you can't use Mash normal, and you're also locked into her for
the later part of the story, which is really fucking annoying. So B plus here. Like her first kill is really fucking random. She loses the targeted invincibility. She loses the defense buff, which is really important. She loses the 20% targeted battery. She loses the attack buff on her NP. And what does she gain? A second turn of taunt. It's alright, I guess, but that's a pretty big fucking downgrade, especially considering you probably want to have her at level 80, so you can't really use her as a taunter and die. So, yeah. But yeah, that was the list, and I'm gonna just tell you who I have and who I don't have. And out on MP level, and if I use her, most importantly. So I have Renes, user. I have Waver, use him a lot. I have Skadi, use her a lot. I use Arash a lot. I use I have Zerg a lot, but I don't use him mainly because I haven't at level 9, and more importantly because I have a Species Star and I don't have neither Super Scope nor even Kaleidoscope, so I can't. Species Star is generally just better. I have a Stove and I do use him quite a bit. I literally today just got Nitocris. I use Paracelsus a lot. I use Chang'an quite a bit. I have MP1 Summer Musashi. I got her from the GSSR. I have been using her during the summer event rerun. Before that, I never really used her, but I don't have Super Scope. I don't have Neurobright, so I'm not really betraying my tier list because she's in test tier for my account. She's more like a B plus tier, maybe. I don't use Spartacus anymore, mainly because of Space Star. I do use Kentucky Rider. I do use Berserker. I do use Tamamo. I do use Mash. I use Artoria. She's pretty much almost my only AoE Saber. I do use Atalanta. I use Arshkigal. I use Sig. I use Fran. I use Benyanma. I use Okusai Saber too, even though I do have Benyanma. Unfortunately, I don't have Chloe, which is sad. Very sad. I really wanted her. I missed her by like 3 months both times. Once I left right before, the other time I came back right after, which is really sad. I do use Ozymandias. I do use Georgios. I don't use Shiki too often, actually. But I do use her sometimes. I don't really use what's her name, Santa Nightingale all that often, but she's here for challenge quests, so that's not too weird. I don't use Marie much. I do use Shakespeare. I use Avika Brom quite a bit. I use Grey. I don't have Bunyan. I don't use Caesar much, but I do use him every once in a while. I do use Uriel for challenge quests. I don't use Santa Alter. But I do have her at MP1. I do use Kagetora, definitely. My best single target answer. I do use MHX quite a bit. I have Cersei and Jack, but they are both level 1 yet at the moment, so I don't use them, obviously.
I don't use Lubu anymore because I have Berserker. I don't use Astra too much. Um, I don't use Asclepius much. I don't use Arthur much, not since I got Arturia. I do use Fionn sometimes. I do use Liz sometimes. I have Odysseus, but he's level 1, so I haven't used him yet. I don't use Alexander anymore, and I don't use. Oh, okay, I do use Medusa sometimes. Okay, not really, not since I got Space Ishtar. Because like Stolf and Space Ishtar generally take care of any rider nodes with double Scali. Um, any caster nodes, sorry. I don't use Raiko much, but I do use her every once in a while. I do use Saber Lancelot, actually, sometimes. I don't use Bedivere though. Don't use David. Don't use Billy. Um, don't use Ushi much because I have Kintoki. Use Medea and Kashuten every once in a while. My Wu is level 1, I believe. Or low level, anyways. No, never mind. I don't use her. Okay, don't use her. Don't use Niantar much either, but sometimes. I do use Heracles sometimes. Um, do use Leonidas. I do use Steno sometimes for challenge quests. I do use Nero. Now I'm just gonna tell you who I have and who I use and who I don't use. Have Nero, used her. Have Saber Lily, used her before I got Saber. Have Lakshmi Bai, don't use her. Have Santa Alter, don't use her much anymore. Have Shuten Doji, MP2, don't use her too often. Have him, don't use him much at all. At all. Have Mialter, I don't think I leveled him yet. Have Chiron, I haven't leveled him yet. Have Jane, don't use her much at all, even though I have her at MP5 plus 6th copy at lower level. Never use her much. I haven't leveled her. I do use cool sometimes for just a single target lancer that gets Scuddy buff. And I do use Cuprato for farming. I don't use Carmilla much. I have her, but she's level 1. I don't use Ibaraki too often. I don't use Summer Marta often at all. I don't use Lobo. I use Chevalier every once in a while. Don't use Mia much. Don't use Nobu much. Don't use Marta much. Don't use Erisa. I don't use Nursery too often. Don't use Tamamaka too often. Just got Vlad today. Still level 1. I have Emiya Assassin, still level 1. Have Kyokoyo, still level 1. I don't use Irisville much. I have Medelilia at MP1. At level 1, sorry. I think. I don't use Mary much at all. Don't use her. Liz Caster. I just got Yanking today. I recorded this during Merlin Banner Day, by the way. this segment. Didn't pull him, but I pulled 3 stars out of like 1.5 10 rolls, so that's really fucking good anyways, especially since one of them is fucking Nitrogris. Holy shit, yes. Best spook I could have asked for. Yeah, that's it. I don't plan on covering FGO much. Maybe another time, maybe once a year. I don't know. But yeah, congrats if you watched the whole thing. I don't know how you did it. Have a good day.